It is Thursday morning. This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar, which we're getting into today.
You gotta get your vitamins in, right?
Absolutely. Exactly. Available in both original variety 12 packs. It is the top Caesar brand in the country, and unfortunately, we're now out of the extra spicy and the pickled bean. We're down to just the originals.
It's all right. I brought Tabasco.
Perfect. Yeah, so we're going to need to grab a few more of those here. This is the EST Hangout. Matt Iwanyk with you here. Joaquin Gage is with us, as he is every Thursday. Just finished presiding over Hot Takes, which we'll quickly get into. And also joining us today, Kevin Radomski. He's the Director of Business Operations of the Edmonton Oil Kings. Yeah. Kevin, it's great to have you by.
It's an honor to be in here. The Hangout, this place is a beauty. Kind of like Gager. A beaut.
Gager, how's Hot Takes?
It was good. I was, like I mentioned, on Hot Takes, not unlike the Oilers, starting of a streak for young YouTube Trev. That mustache, and you know what? He got a few extra bonus points. He was the only one that rose when I entered, and being a judge, there is a sign of respect.
He actually stood up for you.
Yeah, he stood up, and so. Ooh. That's just he didn't act like Trump in a courtroom like Dusty did, so I'm happy with his progress, but 2's a streak, going 3 for 3. That's something else. I think we'll see the other 2 bring their A game next week.
But like for all the kids listening out there, like it's the little things that can make all the difference, right, Gager? Like standing up and showing respect. Look at that.
You try to teach your kids manners, right? Pleases and thank yous go a long way.
Goes a long ways. Never goes out of style.
This power that you're going a little with a judge, it's slowly starting to creep in.
Slowly,
it's slowly there. It's not like me as commish of the Nielsen Show drafts, but it's happening, and I'm liking this.
Okay.
The fact that there's part of this came down to they didn't stand for you.
Oh, that's
and no one would have even no one actually could really clarify if YouTube Trev did or didn't. We have to take your word for this.
Well, why would you lie? You're right.
That's a fair point.
I'm honorable,
but
so I think you should bookmark this conversation about the power is going to get to his head. I think you should revisit that in about a month and see how it's aged, because it may not age well.
We'll see. Like, I don't want to get drunk with power, but
a little tipsy.
A little tipsy.
You don't want to be fully drunk, but a little tipsy with power is okay.
That's good.
The Connor Brown take won it. We all were standing outside, you and Zach to come, and that one got us laughing so good. And
that probably helped.
You know it, right? Right when you hear it, you know it. Like that was legit.
That's a funny one. I heard you laughing with the Nielsen's take about me.
It was a little funny, but
it was actually that wasn't that good. Wasn't that good?
I just knew your reaction to it.
It's old news. Although Dusty, I'll get your guys' take on this. He thinks I'm very weird for never using drive-thrus. I just go inside.
I respect
that. Weird?
I don't think it's weird, but like to me, like I respect that, right? Like I don't do self-checkout. Like if they handed out $20 bills, if you do a self-checkout at a grocery store, I would never know it, and I don't want to. Like there is so much. I just number one, you're charging me like through the teeth to buy my bag of apples. I ain't scanning this stuff too. I got my limits, right?
Actually, speaking of that, before I let you continue, there are stores now in the States where you do self-checkout and at clothing stores, and you have to take the tags off.
No,
like those security tags. It's part of it where you have to actually take the tag off of it. And that's when we're like, I want a payment for this one.
That's what I mean. I understand it. This whole thing's the hang. I'm going to tell you guys a great story. So I've got 2 daughters. I've got a 19 and a 17-year-old. And my 19-year-old and I are at a grocery store in downtown Edmonton. And it was like a Saturday morning after the gym. And we're there. And the checkout line, there was a lineup for the checkout line. But there was nothing in the self-checkout. And she's like, Dad, we should go over there. And I'm like, no, I won't do it. Like, I don't care if I miss 5 minutes of my life, I'm fine. In front of us, and this, God's honest truth, no joke, in front of us, there's a guy that's older, white hair, in a wheelchair. And you can see he shoved some meat in his coat, right? And so there's some meat. I don't know if it was steak or chicken or whatever. It's meat. And it's hanging out of his coat. And he doesn't care or he doesn't know. I'm like, in a self-checkout, you don't get this theater right here, right? Like, we got entertained as this guy was shoplifting meat on the way out. And I was just like, hey, it's all good.
The self-checkout people that will just not scan every third item.
Yeah.
Well, I saw the meme, right, where you went through the regular checkout and the value was $120. You got a second opinion that the self-checkout was only $42, right? Yeah, like 100%. Like, hey, you're saving money, so am I.
I only do self-checkout, but I also am a single guy, and I live by myself.
Okay.
So I don't have a lot.
Yeah.
And so it's always, there's an open self-checkout. I could quickly scan. I can get out.
So you don't
That's
own
for
a
me.
Costco card?
I have a Costco card, but I
Really?
use their self-checkout.
No,
Really?
yeah.
As a single guy, how much do you buy at Costco?
It's not a lot.
Yeah.
But they have just cheaper prices on like fruits and produce and stuff like that. So that's where I go. I grab some of those things. That lasts for a while.
I'm a Costco guy. I love Costco.
I hate it, but it's a love-hate relationship with there. I've been there a couple times this last week. I like the gas. The gas is good.
See, now the gas to me isn't worth the wait. Like, I know it's cheaper, but again, I'm like,
I just calm down. And that's my calm
Just
down.
the zen?
I do it afterwards, after like the pushiness sometimes, depending on the Costco that you use.
Yeah.
I have been hitting the $1.50 hot dogs though.
Really?
Yeah, no, right after it's kind of a little treat.
Yeah.
Decompress with the hot dog, go get the gas.
And those things are legit. Like,
Oh
let's
my
be
God.
straight,
They're
right?
so good.
Yeah.
They've nailed that.
100%.
Now with the gas, the trick is like, not enough people know that they extend the gas pulleys.
Oh, I know.
They
I
what?
know.
They extend. So
Yeah.
like if people
On the
pull
wrong
up
side.
on the wrong
Yeah,
side, like
yeah,
if they
yeah.
want to pull up to the gas pump that's on their side of where the gas is.
It comes across.
But it comes across.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like you go. So I'm actually lucky because my car already has it on the opposite side of most people. I think most people's on the driver's side. Mine's on
Yeah.
the passenger side. So that line's always quite empty.
yeah.
But it's funny to me when I just watch them. The people will willingly sit in a longer line
Yeah.
because they think I got to be on this
Yeah,
side.
there's
Instead
no
of,
other way.
It pulls.
Yeah.
It pulls. And you can watch people do it.
The life hack thing that I didn't know of till, well, I would say recently. The last
talking
few
about the
years.
gauge?
Yeah.
Oh,
the,
yeah.
The fuel gauge. If you're in a car that you haven't been in and you go fill it up for gas, you look at the fuel gauge and there'll be an arrow pointing to the one side that the gas is on.
That's like old man knowledge here.
Yeah,
You and me
I know.
right here. Yeah, here we go. Yeah.
I don't know if it's in Canada, but in the U.S., if you're driving in the exit, it tells you exit over the sign.
Yeah.
Whichever side of the
That's
sign
right.
is.
That's right. That's
Is where
you,
the exit is.
Oh,
So
no
if
way.
the exit part's on the right side, you're exiting on the right side. If it's on the left side, you be prepared that the exit's coming on the left side of it. That's the other trick.
Yeah, this
for that.
again, knowledge that you've acquired over the years of hard knocks right here.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah.
This is what TikTok's meant for now. Is put that all on TikTok and people
yeah.
can scroll through that
So
stuff.
when you see those life hack things, I'm fully focused and go, oh my God, how can I incorporate that into my life?
Yeah, I need this. Yeah.
That's Reddit for me. Like they have always, there's some sort of life hack someone's throwing out there.
Yeah, that's a good
And
call.
you're reading something,
Yep.
and then somebody's telling you why it doesn't work.
Yep.
Or how unethical this is. You're like, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll be the judge of that.
I'll give this a try.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's quickly talk some Oil Kings.
Let's go.
'Cause actually, this Sunday you guys have a big game. We had Love Pro Wrestling guys in a couple days ago.
Who's in? With Spencer?
We had Spencer in
Okay.
with Dash, who does color for them.
Awesome.
You guys have a game against the Blades on Sunday, but you guys are mixing in some wrestling.
Yeah, so
How did this come up?
I got to be honest with you. Like a lot of times, like if you haven't been to an Oil King game, like it's great hockey. Like junior hockey is a ton of fun, but it's also about the sizzle off the ice, right? So last Sunday it's -40. We had over 7,000 fans at Rogers Place, and we had an Elvis impersonator up from Calgary, and I gave out 1,000 pairs of glasses with the chops on them, and so like I'll talk about the Elvis night that we did. So in August, the entire hockey operations, we had like a retreat. And so we all start talking about the season, right? And they're talking about, here's what our D looks like, here's what our goaltending looks like, here's what our forwards look like. And they invited me for some reason to talk about, hey, here's what I'm going to do in the stands, like basically the marketing side. And so Luke Pierce, our head coach, fantastic. Kurt Hill, our general manager and president, and like everyone's there. And I say, hey guys, just so you know, in January, I'm going to bring up this Elvis impersonator, and we're going to give out these glasses. I didn't have them; I just had a photo of them because we were designing them. And I said, I would love it if our players came out onto the ice wearing the Elvis glasses with the chops, right? And I'm like, coach is kind of exactly where you are, Matty. And I can feel him burning a hole through my head, right? And coach gets real quiet. And that's where I'm like, okay, I'm on thin ice right now. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to go for it. I'm like, and you know what would be great is if Coach was wearing them and Rogan Dean, our equipment manager. And so then you kind of put it out there in the universe and you just leave it. And you hope that maybe some rain has hit it and it'll start growing on its own. So then, day of the game on Sunday, Rogan Dean, our equipment manager, texts me. He's like, "So when you bringing down the glasses?" And I was just like, "Oh, like we're doing this." Eh? Like, okay. And then I get a photo that it goes on the board, right? And Gager, you remember the board in the room tells you everything. If it's on the board, it's biblical, it's happening. And it's just said, wear glasses, do a couple rips, take them off. I was just like, okay. So I run to my storage room and I get 40 pairs of these glasses. And there's guys that they're in the tunnel and they're all lined up. And I can hear this one guy, I won't out him. He's like, I can't see a thing. It's fine. And so a couple of our players were wearing them for almost a whole warm up. And other guys would step on the ice and took them off immediately, right? That's the beauty of junior hockey is you can do that. And so this coming Sunday on the 21st, we have Love Pro Wrestling, very first time independent wrestling and the Oil Kings have ever met. And I got to be honest with you, it's two of my passions. I've been watching wrestling since I have had eyes open, and I've loved hockey since I had my eyes open. So to be able to ram these two things together. So the way it's going to work is on Sunday our doors open at 3. Puck drop starts at 4. The first match is going to start at 3:15. And you wouldn't believe how stressed people are. They're emailing us. They're tagging us on social media. Well, you got to open the doors early. The first match is at 3:15. I'm like, you'll have plenty of time to get through the gates. But there is people who are coming for wrestling that may watch the hockey. There's a lot of people coming for the hockey. They're going to watch the wrestling. And so what we did is we actually are going to put their ring on the stage that we have right by the Zamboni. So imagine yourself, Gager, you're the goalie, and you're getting warmed up, and there's a guy doing a suplex right behind you. It's all going to happen at the same time. And to me, I'm just like, why wouldn't we do this? It's just tons of fun, and that's what junior hockey's supposed to be.
Yes, it's like minor ball.
Absolutely.
Right? It's about
you got to
the
sell
fun.
the sizzle, baby.
And it's the whole experience.
Yes.
Yes. The teams had some success.
Yep.
They're now in the rebuild situation,
Yep.
on their way up. This year better than last year, and then hopefully in the next few years back to being where they were, where championships again, because it's all cyclical in the WHL and CHL. But overall, in those times, then you got to sell the tickets.
Well, and again, I'll speak honestly that if all we ever did was sell hockey, then we better never lose a game.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I'm able to talk to our president and general manager Kurt Hill and just say, hey, listen, I know that we're in a rebuild, and we have a ring to show for it 2 years ago. So because we won the WHL championship,
and should have won more if it wasn't for COVID.
They
were there.
They were
there.
Juggernaut of a team that no one saw. To your point, Matty, it's a sin that it was a great team assembled, and because of the realities of the world, no one got to see it. They didn't get to take that step they deserved. Last year, we won 4 games at home. Okay, we played 34 games at home. So 30 nights, our fans went home without 2 points in the pocket. And I don't care what sport you have, when you win, everything is better, right? The hot dog tastes better, the beer is colder, and somehow everything is great if you win. And the Oilers are riding that high right now. Honestly, you could get the wrong flavor of pizza. You could order a Hawaiian and get a pepperoni. It's totally fine. Oilers have won 11 in a row, baby. But if they've lost 3 in a row, all of a sudden my hot dog bun, well, I think you guys, these buns are kind of stale, right? But when you've won games, everyone's happy, and it's got an energy to it. So this year, we've already won 7 games at home. Right? And we're just into January. So right away, we've already almost doubled our numbers. But to your point, in junior hockey, you're never good for long, and you shouldn't be rebuilding for long. And our general manager, he loves to make trades. It's a nightmare for the business side. So Andrew Peard, our play-by-play guy and our media guy, pushed out press release after press release. Our poor girl on social media, Katie Harding, is just pulling her hair out because every day is another trade with 14 picks and the way it goes. But I would rather have that. I'd rather have that not acceptance of mediocrity. Let's go for it. And Kurt Hill is always going for it. And you have to say goodbye to some great players. When we traded guys, you get to watch these guys. They're developing off the ice as well as on the ice. So a guy like Rylan Kovacevic, had some injuries. He was doing tons of community stuff with us. We traded him, and it's emotional. But then you get in these players, and you're never going to get great players unless you trade great players. And that's just the way it goes. Everyone wants the shiny player over here, but then you're going to give up a shiny player too. Because that team needs that. So I'm really blessed that we're able to have fun with it. And there are teams in the Western Hockey League and in the CHL where the owner, the general manager, the head coach, whatever, is so staunch that they don't get to have fun. Yeah. Right? It's just it's almost like they're inconvenienced by playing music, right? And I'm just let's have some fun. And again, it's thanks to that relationship that we have with the hockey club to saying, hey, we know we're a hockey team. I'm never not promoting that we're a hockey team, but I want us to have fun. So that when the players, these guys are kids too, they love putting on those glasses, right? Because it's something different.
You're getting the wheels turning of my old junior days. And it was funny because the majority of my time was in Portland that I played. And
great city. Great hockey city.
Fantastic. Like, people thought we were on par with the Trailblazers, essentially, at that
But
that
to them,
time.
you are.
Yeah, to most of the fans,
Yeah.
we are. But I remember it was fun coming to Canada because the whole atmosphere changed, right? It was more...
It's religious now, right?
Yeah, it was focused towards kids. You would see families and stuff. It was a completely different type of atmosphere, which... yeah, it's sad because I hit Portland right on the wave. We were getting better. We got to the Western Conference Finals my second year. Third year, I got traded to Prince Albert, who was completely on a rebuild.
Yeah.
And
as a goalie, come on,
it was terrible. It was just awful. But good young players. A lot of guys went on to have pretty solid pro careers, but they were all 17, 18. Yeah. Stevie Kelly was 17. Dennis Peterson, who had a great career and went on to Europe and really excelled. Shane Toporowski. Shane Knighty won a cup with Boston. Yeah. Who else? Dave Van Druen played a lot of pro as well. I think he's from the Edmonton area. We had some really good players, but just
that's the beauty of junior hockey, right? and like, I've been with the Oil Kings since 2009. And so I used to be the announcer for them when I was working for the Oilers. And so Joaquin and we got to spend some time together because I was working the alumni file for the Oilers for years. And when you start meeting these young players, like I remember 16-year-old Aaron Irving, and he was just a baby, right? And you remember when he gets drafted by the Nashville Predators, and you're like, oh wow! And like I was blessed enough to be, in the team mix when we had the Tristan Jarrys, when we had the Curtis Lazars, the Griffin Reinhardts, like all of these guys all came. And now you look at Jars, and it kind of hurts you when people were kind of slagging them in Pittsburgh of being like, well, I don't know if he's a good goalie. You're like, he's a fantastic goalie, and he's even a better human being. And we got to know him when he was 17 years old. And I'll tell you a story when Tristan Jarry was done in the Oil Kings. He had aged out. So for those who don't know, like in junior hockey, you cannot be older than 20 years. We can only hold three 20-year-olds. So when he 20'd out with us, he was the only guy, and if anyone on the Oil Kings is listening, there's a couple 20-year-olds on our team right now. He was the only guy that said, hey, Kev, can I get some photos? And he wanted to pay for his photos, and I got him a really good photo of himself in action. He signed them for all the Zamboni drivers, all of the people on the backstage, like the glue people that don't ever make it on camera, but they know, you know, Gager, like when you walk in the back of an arena, I know all the security people, I know all the ushers, because like they're the nicest people, and they're there because they're passionate. And Tristan walked around and he handed out 8x10s, and I'll never forget that move. And so then when people start talking about him not being a good goalie, I understand that, but you sure as heck can't talk about him not being a great person.
Wow.
Because off the charts.
Yeah, that's impressive. I've always liked him as a goalie. I think
for sure
you've seen the progression he has. He's become a bona fide number one starter for the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is great.
Pittsburgh's lucky to have him.
They're very lucky.
They're very lucky to have him.
Yeah, it was. There was talk about. Well, a couple years ago of the Oilers picking him up, but
Tyler Yaremchuk, because they threw him on waivers, I think, or something. And Yaremchuk at the time was like, I think the Oilers should pick him up, and it never happened. And Yaremchuk was right on that one.
Yeah.
A couple messages in the nasty chat. Radomski and the Oil Kings doing a great job with the product. That's from X-Ray J, who also says, is the Mott's Clamato Caesar cold? Yes, still cold. So it's still going down very nicely.
That's the vitamins in the morning, right?
Kevin Claus, I love the Oil Kings. Just renewed my season seats for my second season. I love the hockey. Reminds me of an NLL atmosphere. Yeah. It is always a good time. Also to Fergus Prostate, where's Darrell Davis? I know he's on the side of the screen for YouTube. I should have mentioned Darrell Davis, who is the honorary chair of Quickcard Edmonton Minor Hockey Week. He's going to stop by in the last 20 minutes of the show or something to talk about Minor Hockey Week as that is going. When it comes to running the Oil Kings, the company used to have Horns Up Entertainment. How similar is it to running concert promotions and things like that?
I can't see any of these chats, so you're gonna have to tell me.
That was I got the name from Yukon. I
There
knew
we
you
go.
ran concerts.
Yeah.
But you told me the name.
So for years and years and years, I had my own promotional company. So I would bring in bands that really aligned with like 100.3 The Bear, right? So bands like Papa Roach and Buck Cherry and Rob Zombies of the world. And Yukon, for those who don't know, Yukon Jack, I was telling Maddie before we came on camera, I've known Paulie for 20 years, right? Plus.
That also explains just how long you've known him. You call him Paul.
Yeah.
That's the big difference.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
'Cause his name's
his
Paul
real
Brown.
name is Paul Brown.
Really?
Yes.
So what's creepier is his middle name is William. Okay, so I don't care if Yukon wants me saying this or not. We're doing it.
Screw you,
when they
Yukon.
had the Paul Brown show,
Yeah.
and they had Paul Brown, his name was Paul William Brown. Yukon Jack's real name is Paul William Brown. They had two guys with the same name.
I never knew
Yeah,
that.
you didn't know that?
No.
And so the people like Yuke's real friends or old school friends will call him Paul or Paul.
Yeah.
You could tell when I call him Yuke.
Yeah.
He's Yuke to me because
Yeah.
I know him as Yuke. But
Yeah, he's
the people
Paulie.
that
He's
have known
Paulie
him
to
for a
me.
long time,
Yeah,
it's Paulie. So I just want to say that
Yeah.
the fact that you say Paulie, that just explains exactly how long you've known him.
What does it say on his driver's license?
Oh, it'd be
Paul Brown?
Oh, is it? Oh,
Paul
yeah.
Brown.
But like, it's so funny because no one understood that, right? The morning show was the Paul Brown show, but it really was the Paul Brown Squared show,
Yes.
right?
Julian Foot.
Yeah. And so like I remember when Paul Brown like from Vancouver came in, and I remember when Jillian's like a sister, and Jillian and Paul were so good on air.
Yeah.
And I was telling Matt, like, I remember when Yukon Jack was just a punk hanging posters in my bar, and so I had this company called Horns Up Entertainment. I still have it. And Yukon, being Yukon, because it wouldn't be him if he wasn't coming for shots, he says to me, he goes, because it's HORN''S. Well, that would make it Horn Is Up. Okay, so just so you know, I'm not the most efficient in the grammar department. And so he's like, so he calls my company Horn Is Up all the time. Hey man, how's Horn Is Up? And I'm just like, get out of here, like beat it. And that's Yukon, right? And I have really good friends in my life, but they help me be better because they're always looking for that scab that they can pick.
That's great.
And Paulie's front of the line waiting for it every time.
I love it. God,
What was it like booking concerts?
You know what? It's weird because when you book concerts, you want to, like, I always like to book concerts I believed in, right? So if someone said to me, hey, I think this show would do really well or that show would do really well, I always say to myself, would I buy that ticket? Like, do I want that? And so, great story. I brought Marilyn Manson to town. And Marilyn Manson had just released a brand new album at the time. He was the most topical he had been in 15 years. And you say to yourself, like, okay, you know you're in for a ride, but you just don't know what kind of ride. And so, you know, again, for concert people that know the business, usually you'll get a contract. Before you can go on sale, you have to have your contract. And they can be anywhere between 5 pages or 50 pages. And it'll list out everything, right? And I was on the road with the band Buck Cherry, and so I was able to understand what it's like. And these guys, a lot of people think, oh, these people are prima donnas. They're not. They're just looking for the comforts of home.
Yeah.
Like when you're on a bus and you wake up, you don't know what town you're in, who's feeding me, who's doing my laundry, and like, hey, I just want to work out today. You know, I mean, I want the 3 elements to help me feel like me. And then you get back on the bus after working an 18-hour day and drinking tons of drinks, right? And then you wake up in another town, you do it again. I understand why these people are like, you know what? All I want is a piece of bread with crunchy peanut butter. That's all I want. But then some people will say, oh, they crunchy peanut butter. Well, no, that's what they like. So with Marilyn Manson, when you start reading the contracts, you start seeing common themes. And his common theme was he wanted his dressing room to be pitch black. And he mentioned it like 5 times. We're talking ceiling, floor, walls, furniture, pitch black. And so like after you read it once, you're just like, And then you start seeing another mention of it, just, oh, that's a warning sign. By about the 4th time, I'm like, okay. And he wanted it to be 15 degrees Celsius. So that's a meat locker, okay?
Yeah.
So here I am being like, okay, so you know these things are tests. So how well did you read the contract? I was at the Shaw Conference Center, Edmonton Convention Center now. And I talked to our event manager, his name was Ed, and I just said, here's what we need. And so we put what's called Visqueen, so it just basically blacks out everything. And I watched Manson come off his bus, and he got really early. He was there really early, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He's taller than you would think, and he's a lot more articulate than people give him credit for. Like a lot of people say...
Isn't he Mensa?
He is absolutely mental.
Yeah.
Like, he is brilliant. But of course, people can't get past the fact that he's extremely controversial, but he's very brilliant. Like, the whole thing is an act. And when he came off his bus, he walked up the stairs to his dressing room. He opened the door and he kind of looked around, and then he was good. Because he knew that if I would go through those details and I would make it happen, he knew he'd have a good night.
Nice.
And those are all little tests. So as a promoter, sometimes you fail tests. Sometimes they fail to tell you things. And I had the band Korn on the stage, and Jonathan Davies from Korn, minutes before the showtime, they're like, "Where's his oxygen? He has balls of oxygen." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, "What do you mean oxygen?" They're like, "Well, Jonathan likes to take hits of oxygen because it helps his energy levels." I'm like, "Where in the contract did it say anything about bottles of oxygen? Like, I don't have a couple in my back pocket I can pull out." And they're like, "Well, like, if he doesn't have it, like, he's not performing." I'm like, "Well, I got a sold out show. Like, we got thousands of people waiting for him to go on." And then you start getting resourceful. And you know that there's always an EMT with an ambulance. And you know they have oxygen in the ambulance. And so I remember going up to the EMT, who happened to be an Octane girl. You remember the Octane cheer team for the Oilers?
Yeah.
Her name was Amanda. And I was stressed out, right? Because if this show doesn't go on, I'm losing money. And I walk out, and there's Amanda. I'm like, "You're an EMT?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I need a ball of oxygen." "Yeah, we got several." And she goes to the ambulance, takes out this ball of oxygen. I put it on the stage. Jonathan Davis goes on, performs, tremendous performance. And I remember, like, sometimes you sit down in silence, and you're just like, that was a free one. Like, that was a freebie right there. And it was just one of those things. Like, what are the odds that the lady who is in charge of taking care of injuries is also a part-time dancer for the Oilers cheer team, which I was working for at the time, that I needed a ball of oxygen. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes everything just kind of comes together real nice, and you're just like, okay. And there's a reason why I would not recommend any of my children to go into concert promotion, because I love them more than that, and they deserve better.
I love those hits of oxygen.
I've never done it. Like, does it perk you right up?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because my childhood friend is in town from the coast. He's having a tournament out at the River Cree this weekend, and he used to work as I don't know what it's called, the gas guy. He would bring the big canisters to bars.
Oh, for big torpedoes.
Yeah.
Oh,
he and it was an art form, him moving these things.
Yeah.
Like, he could kick the bottom. He did that. And so we were young at that time, and we were going out every night. And I was playing hockey, so I could sleep in the summers. He had to go to work, but he would take the hits of the oxygen. Like, they just go on, and it would clear a hangover so quickly.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, just like snap,
I mean,
what?
not, but you'd feel 10 times better with pure hits of oxygen. So it was pretty funny because they would get in this truck outside my house and be like, just be hitting the oxygen.
Your neighbors are like, "What's going on?"
What are
Right?
these guys? And I would go out and have a few hits and go back to bed or whatever. And it was, they were hilarious. But
You know what's great is if we had Yukon Jack here, he'd be talking about totally different kinds of hits. That's the greatest thing, right?
that was good.
That's great having someone else who knows Uke, though. Like, it's wonderful that we can take the shots and stuff. I can't believe you didn't know that it was Paul Brown, though.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think I heard that, but I thought it was BS.
No.
I was like,
What's funny is, and it kind of like, so.
It sounds like BS.
Yeah.
It's
Like,
a real
straight up,
deal,
it does sound like
What are
that
the
can't
odds?
happen.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear the origin story of Yukon Jack.
I don't know that, to be honest. That's a good
If
question.
I could recall correctly, at the time of the Bear, everyone was taking names.
Yeah.
It was,
Trapper John. and
Sled Dog.
Yeah.
Everyone was
Park
having
Warden.
some Park Warden.
Yeah.
You had weird names. So
Yeah.
I don't know how
Yukon
you maybe
Jack.
went to Yukon Jack, but that
Yeah.
was the Bear era where everyone had these alter ego names and stuff.
I
And he
remember,
got
not,
Yukon
not that
Jack.
we want to spend the whole time talking about the Bear, but like we have that commonality.
Oh, I love the Bear.
And like I remember going into it was Astral for a while, it was Standard Radio, Bell Media, like whoever owned the station at the time, it didn't matter. There were so many great friends there. And I remember my kids, and true story, when my daughters, I'd have to go to the Bear Studios to drop something off, whether it be concert tickets or whatever. They would be like, "Dad, like I don't want to go with you," because I'd be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna be 2 minutes. Like I'm just, you know what I mean? Like leave the car running, honey. I'll be right back." Hour later, I'm coming back. Right?
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, because like I knew everyone there, and everyone was so good,
Yeah.
and it didn't matter if it was morning show or the midday, or Fearless Fred. Like there were so many
Fearless
great
Fred.
people there, and what was more important is they were all family. And you could go in there, and not saying it's not like that now. I'm more out of touch, and it's more so that like people are now very businesslike.
Yeah.
Whereas before, 10, 12 years ago, you could go in there and have a beer like we're doing now with the Moscow Mallow. You could go into Rob Vavrick's office and have a beer with Vav or whatever, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning. It's like, all right, I gotta drop the kids off at school, right? Like, let's go.
Great.
It was that much fun.
It was a different time.
It was a different time.
I got the tail end of that radio and
Did you?
stuff. I got some of it and stuff. It was
Do you
great.
imagine what
It'd
it
be
would have been like in the 80s or the 70s?
No, well, in that building, there's a spot somewhere in the Bell building where it was a smoking room inside.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it was that was the spot you go smoke.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't imagine it because for me, like at the tail end, there'd be Fridays where Vav, our boss at the time, would walk around and be like, "Who needs a beer?"
Yep.
And he'd make sure you had a beer. Like
Yep.
if you needed one, you had one.
Yep.
And he like, "You
No
good?
question.
You good?"
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you'd be
yeah.
about to leave for the weekend. Like, hey, whoever's left, like, do you need another one?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was just acceptable.
Yeah.
And that's what we've brought here to EST. Like Gager goes into our fridge whenever and just takes whatever, but he also keeps it organized.
Yeah. Appreciate that.
But that's, I know it's not the most professional maybe out there, but there's just something nice about it, like in a
Absolutely.
casual and
Yeah. And I
welcoming.
Yeah, and that's just it though. I was here for like literally 3 minutes, and I'm walking around, and I love the space. Like everything looks tremendous, and I'm watching Dusty do Dusty thing there, and we're great. And I'm looking at the Hangout, and I was like, oh, we got all these Clamatos, and it's all on display. And so Matt and I are talking about that. He's like, do you want one? I'm look at my watch. I'm like, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, but like honestly, like, there's something pure about that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, hey man, let's just have a beer and a conversation, and great. Why not?
Some of the best conversations are after the shows
Absolutely.
and with a beer.
We're just
and
hanging
talking.
out.
Oh yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
great. That's what I love this. This
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
this is great.
The one thing that made our building at Bell so great was actually Virgin Radio got to put to the side because there was a lot of changes to the people that worked there, but to a little degree them. But Bear and TSN, we got along so well.
Yep. Yep.
That when the mics were off, we had a great time
Yeah.
with each other.
But
and
people-
there was
people can
laughs
feel that,
happening,
right?
And it would just translate on air because we'd either be going on air right away, laughing or smiling, or it would have given us some great idea to talk about the next day or something like that. And it fully translates that work environment. I would think it'd be this like a locker room in hockey.
Yep.
If you're enjoying the time you have with each other, it probably makes it a lot easier to go practice with the
you
boys
can't
and
wait
play a
to get
game
to the
for
rink,
boys.
right? Like, what's funny is like even at Rogers Place, and like, hey, like the Oil Kings are privileged to play at Rogers Place. Let's start there.
Yes.
I can tell you that my favorite place to hang out is the laundry room.
The laundry room?
I swear to goodness. Yeah, I swear to God. And like every Sunday after we're done the Oil Kings, and like what people don't realize is that and you as a player, a Gager, like you just put your stuff in the bin and it magically shows up clean and hanging. And there's an army of people that work behind the scenes tirelessly. And it's usually the locker room guys, like right, your athletic therapist and your equipment manager. They're the heart and soul. If you've got good locker room guys, you got a great team. And the Oil Kings have great locker room guys like Rogan Dean and Jimmy McKnight, and all the people that work back there. And on Sunday nights, we hang out, we fold towels, literally. And there's a certain way I've been educated. I have now been indoctrinated in how to fold a towel, and there is a way, and they
You've
have
had
to
the
go
lessons
in.
and you had the
Absolutely.
education.
I've got certified. I'm certified the towel folder. But like to me, like even during the World Juniors, I worked for Hockey Canada.
Yeah.
Every night I was in the laundry room, and because you could hang out there, have a beer, and you talk about sometimes the game, but most times you don't. And it can be ridiculous things about who's got the best donaire, and that could go on for an hour and just passionately. But it's always the laundry room that I love, and it's what I mean, like it's just it's just one of those things, right?
It's at a party. Kitchen is always the place to go. I guess at a
100%,
rink, then it's the laundry room.
Absolutely.
I didn't realize the benefit of the laundry bin until becoming a father and my kids using what's called the magic sink. They just throw all their stuff into the sink.
Goes in dirty.
And magically
It's clean?
gets
Oh,
back
yeah.
into the cupboards. It's unbelievable. So yeah, it's
So are you the laundry guy in your house?
no, it's a touchy subject.
Yeah, we're
got some time to go.
Gagers off the
Yeah.
Let's
trail
go.
now.
No, I because I always make a mistake or something. If I wash something with something else, it's not right.
yeah.
You don't do that. Not that I make stuff pink. I don't do that.
Sure.
But it's gotten to the point where I have my own laundry bin. No one does I do my own laundry.
Yeah.
I will fold stuff. But then my children will, whatever's in there gets thrown on the floor, and whatever they want washed gets thrown in,
Okay.
and then just washes that. So get mad at them for not folding.
Yeah,
But the system works. So at least
What do you screw up?
some having a daughter and a wife, sometimes the Lulus don't get thrown in the dryer. It gets thrown on the rack to dry.
They're hang dry.
Okay.
So there's
when in doubt, always hang it. Like when in doubt, you're way better off hanging it than throwing it in the dryer.
Just wash everything in cold and hang everything, basically.
But
You'll never screw up at that point.
my wife actually put up she printed out this stuff and put it on the washer.
Come on.
Yeah, it was a joke, but rules.
Not really.
But not really. But not really.
Yeah, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah.
So that
I'm
was
just
pretty
kidding, but please read this.
good. Yeah. But then it was pretty bad over Christmas because obviously my daughter got some new clothes and got an expensive hoodie, but my wife did a bleach wash and she threw it in and to get washed with it.
Yeah.
And so it came out a little. It's not too bad. It looks okay, but you can tell.
Depends who you ask, though.
Yeah,
right? I got 2 teenage daughters. I get it. And it's the end of the earth if it's not just so, right? So I get it.
But they can't do it, right?
No.
Somebody has to do it, but you have to do it right.
100%. There must be an age limit or something. It must be at least 25 until you're allowed to do laundry.
What's really bad is I can't tell the difference between their clothes, right?
yeah.
So
100%.
they'll be, "Where'd you put my thing?" And I'm just like, "Check her."
100%.
Other closet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah. See, I don't try and differentiate between the bedrooms. I just kind of put it in the middle, and
You pick whatever you need.
Yeah. It'll be washed and folded nice, but then the owner has to come forward and claim said thing, right? Because I'm not getting involved in that. No chance.
What's great is
Especially
now,
with 2 daughters, because you don't want to mix the daughters up, especially.
but they share clothes and probably
They fight over it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Blessed. Yeah.
The other day I came in and Zacticum commented on the shirt I was wearing. What's great is now I can wear my son's stuff because he's my size. So
perfect.
He was commenting on it. "Oh, that's a great shirt. Nice." I go, "Yeah, it's my son's."
But you look all cool.
Yeah,
You're young and hip all of a sudden.
Stylish. Yeah.
I remember my dad was doing that for a while. So, yeah.
It's one of the gifts, though, right? As your kids get older, the stresses never go away; they just change, right? So, like when they were young, you're like, "Oh, if they would only walk, they could do this." And when they're walking, like, "Oh, I can't wait for my kids to run." And then once they're running, you're like, "I really wish it would go backward, right? 'Cause it was a little easier."
We should slow down.
Yeah, but there's always the stress. But no matter what your stress is, like I'm sure my parents are still stressed. Your parents are still stressed. You never stop being a parent.
No.
But it's hilarious how when you look back at the stuff that just consumed you at the time, it means nothing. But to them, it's everything, right?
Small kids, small problems. I hated giving people advice about their kids and stuff. The one thing I would say is small people, small problems, right?
Yep.
And that when they're losing their stuff over things, just a gentle reminder to them, it's their world because their world starts here and expands. So every problem that seems monstrous,
absolutely.
They think that's the end of the world. Where you can put a Band-Aid on that and you'll be fine.
You ain't gonna remember this next year, right? Yeah,
Give me the pearls here.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep bringing up Uke, but I remember before he had kids, he'd do his big yap and stuff, and sometimes he'd do it on parenting or something. And Bob Stauffer would always come up to him and be like, "You can't talk. You don't have kids. You can't comment on parenting."
Oh, really?
Oh, and that's a Stauffer. I could hear a Stauffer say
You could
that.
always look at him and be like, "How many games in the NHL have you played, Stauffer?" And he would always come back to Stauffer with that one, like, "Oh no, I can't talk about parenting. I was a kid. I at least was a kid once. I was parenting."
You can see. I guarantee
you never played in the NHL, and he would go back and
awesome.
stuff with that one, and it was like his best trump card.
Oh, that's
And then now he's the father of 2 kids, but at the time it was before that.
I gotta tell you, we were at skills competition a couple weeks ago, right? And I was going to join our team on the road. We were playing in Kamloops and Kelowna. We had a hell of a road trip that started in Prince George, winding through Victoria, Vancouver, down to Everett, and then up to Kamloops, Kelowna, Calgary.
Jeez.
Wow.
And so I said, you know what? I'll join in Kamloops. And then Stu McDonald, president of the Oilers, gave me an opportunity to promote the Oil Kings at the skills competition. I can't say no.
Yeah.
So the audience for skills comp and the audience for the Oil Kings, exact same, right? Where it's great family entertainment And so I brought a pair of my glasses with the sideburns. I should have brought some today. But so myself and the host, we're doing a hit. And I have some blue suede shoes. And so I said, you know what, we'll do the camera down on my shoes. We'll talk about the next promo night. And then when the camera comes up, we'll have the glasses on. We'll be ready to go. And so the host and I are doing it and having a great time. And off the cuff, and like I'm an off the cuff guy. Like when it comes out of my mouth, a lot of times I don't remember what I said. So we have the glasses on, and I'm kind of like preening down the sideburn. And I said, I feel like Bob Stauffer when he was planting trees. And because if you ever listen to Stauf, he'll usually weave in when he was a physical specimen planting trees, right? And no one's ever seen it.
He also says he looked like Tom Cruise at the time.
But that's what I'm saying, right? And so I make the joke. And right away, you can see the host who works at Chad was just like, I didn't say that. Kevin said that. Because Bob was not happy about that. And I actually went up to Bob. I said, like, it was all fun, right? And he's got great skill. Bob's got a great sense of humor. But it always, whenever I'm on with Stauf, I usually will do something for my own amusement where I'll talk about, we were going up to Grand Cache to play the Oil Kings preseason games this year, just this summer. And I talked to Stauf, like, you must have planted trees up in Grand Cache, no, Stauf? Well, I think I did. Like, I can usually get them on that road, right? And like, I just do it for myself. Like in my mind, there's a bell that rings. Like, yeah, I got Bob to talk about tree planting. Ding, 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 ding. It's kind of fun.
He's great. A few times, like you don't see that side of him on air too much.
No,
he's
so
if you
fun.
ever get a chance,
So fun.
like I did a couple years ago, I went to the U of A golf tournament out at Blackhawk.
Oh, what a great time those tournaments.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
so he was kind of emceeing at the end. Man.
No one loves CIS hockey more than Bob, right?
my
Like, let's
God.
start there.
He was
I'm mad at Bob for his U of A. I'll get into that right away. I'll let you finish.
He was so happy. There was all old U of A football, hockey. He was throwing out so many stats. He was just an
He's a machine.
encyclopedia
Yep.
of what guys did back when and knew all their careers. I was dying laughing. I was sitting with Herbie at the time. I was just like, oh my God, look at him go. He was wound up and fired up. It's fun. So if you ever get a chance, I did one in Lloyd with him too. You get him in those types of things. It's a different stuff.
Well, and the memory is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Is instant
utterly-
recall? Oh,
It's incredible.
Yeah,
Hey,
it's
Bob,
incredible.
who was the first pick in the second round of the 83 NHL draft?
Yeah.
And, oh, well, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
This person
You
played
don't know?
for-
Yeah, exactly.
And just go off. Like,
The son of Randy and Linda. Yeah.
No, Bob, my issue was because he's Mr. U of A. And this is in jest, but last year during the football season, when the Bears were having a great football season, they beat the Huskies twice, and the Huskies were ranked higher than the Bears in the rankings. I'm like, this makes no sense. Like, it can't be.
Yeah.
And me and Dusty would do the morning show, and we talk about it, and we're expecting Bob to say something about this. We didn't once hear Bob go on
silence.
Twitter or say something on his show about these rankings are a joke. And I'm mad because he's Mr. U of A.
Yeah,
There's no
100%.
one bigger in Edmonton for U of A sports than Bob Stauffer. Like, I think he could get paid the same money to do Oilers or Bears.
Yeah.
I think he'd leave the Oilers to go do the Bears
all day
again.
long.
That's his real love.
Yeah.
So I was mad that he didn't do enough for the football team's rankings. He wasn't as mad as I was and Dusty were. And he's supposed to be Mr. U of A.
That's fun.
But
So I need a better year from you, Bob, in 2024. You need to show up.
thrown down. But I remember going to a couple different U of A golf tournaments. There was one year it was out at Goose Hummock. Right, so great golf course. Hey, everyone that shot the goose, we know the goose. Like, bring lots of balls and you'll be fine. But just again, when we talk about the family, I remember rolling up to that tournament. Ian Herber's. For those who don't know, Herbie is huge. Okay, that guy's got I got hands on me. I ain't got nothing, man. Herbie's got 5 bananas on a string, right? And you walk up there and just everyone's hugging. I had the most fun at the U of A golf tournament because it was just friends. And Bob Stauffer's that guy. He's so passionate about it. And I'm privileged with the Oil Kings is that he loves junior hockey. It doesn't matter if it's CIS. It doesn't matter if it's junior. And if I ever ask Bob, hey, Bob, we got a theme night coming up, the answer is always yes. and I'm so privileged for that because you would think that in this major market, here's the Oilers guy that has nothing but time for junior hockey. And it's because that's his passion.
Yeah.
It really is.
No, he's a funny guy. I mean,
He's intense.
I'm glad he didn't see me at these events because then he would have went into my stats. So, not the best, but
those numbers aren't. They counted different back then.
They did. And well, Herbie, it's funny because I played with him 2 different times here and in Europe.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was. You mentioned how big and strong he is. Like he was a beast. Playing like what
was he born? Like 12 pounds?
It's crazy. Like I remember the stories when Herbie used to phone me if one of the goalies had a lab or whatever. This is a few years ago, and I would go to practice.
Yeah,
and it's funny just hearing all the guys talk about Herbie because he's a buddy of mine, but he's the coach to all these young players, and I think they were just doing testing or something, and grip strength, right? And so all these guys, the big, what did you do? And then Herbie walks by with it and
breaks
grabs
the machine.
Just goes like this. And like he hits 100 on it. So the thing it looks like it's going past it. Yeah. And then he goes, well, I should have used my right hand.
Yeah.
He's just, just that old school strength that like in front of the net, forget about it.
Well, you know what's funny is like, you remember where the skate sharpening wheel was at Claire Drake underneath the stairs there? I remember walking by. So we had an alumni game. I don't know if you were playing it, but I know for sure Fistrick was there. I know Struddy was there. And Ryan Smith was skating with us. And it was when the Oilers alumni were playing the Firefighters. It was at Christmas time. And when the doors are open and you got the wheel that's underneath the staircase, I'm watching Ian sharpen his skates, but his skate blade's so long, like his body like twists because he's trying to get the tip to the tip, right? And like his feet are like this, and I'm watching him like kind of like torso twist to get his whole blade on the wheel. And I'm like, that's how you know you got big feet. It was when you can't just stand and move your wrist. You actually have to twist your torso. That guy's a machine. Yeah, tons of fun.
I love the fact that he's still coaching and doing 100%.
Well. A nice guy.
Yeah, I always wondered if he. Last time I talked to him, he didn't seem to have any interest of going the professional route. He likes where he is. I mean, it's pretty stable, but I think there's something there. He's coached in every league essentially,
but there's something to be said for if you like where you're at, then stay where you're at.
Yeah.
Right? And some people talk about being comfortable, but like to me, that happiness and just that knowing you belong where you are, I think that's kind of a thing too, right? And to bring it back to the Oil Kings, like I love junior hockey. Like I could talk junior hockey all day because it's so pure. And don't get me wrong, I go to the Oiler games. I enjoy it. I was at that Toronto game on Tuesday night with my daughter. And what I loved about it was the passion, right? Because you knew walking in, it was going to be a lot of Maple Leaf fans, and there was.
It's one of the best atmospheres of the night.
But
these fans force the Oiler fans to show
that's
up.
what I mean, right? And a lot of times, Rogers Place is quiet. And it's not the most gregarious arena in the NHL, but you want your fans to show up. And what I loved about it is the section I was sitting in, I was surrounded by Maple Leaf fans. And of course, they go up to Love, and you just be patient. Like you knew that the Oilers were going to respond. And these poor Maple Leaf fans, like all they got is all they got, right? And what I loved about it is it was in good nature. Like all of the, let's go Oil, like all that back and forth. I didn't see any fights. I'm sure there was, but I didn't see any. But I can tell you that there was great energy because the Oiler fans didn't want to be shown up by the Maple Leaf fans. And coming in, you got to pack your lunch on those games because we need every person. I remember telling my daughter, my 19-year-old daughter right beside me, I'm like, just so you know, like, I need you tonight. And I told her that. When we popped that first goal, I'm like, let's go. And we're up, right? Like, because, you want to have your fans.
It's your barn.
Absolutely.
You can't let them come and take over your barn.
No, and they want to.
They want to.
Yeah.
But they also will come in and take over your barn. Yeah. So you got to perform.
I don't think it will work in the NHL, but we were talking about this the other day. Could you ever, maybe Red Deer. So maybe a section of Rebels fans, they're just in that section for a game. Do you does that ever kind of happen?
You want the soccer model.
Yeah.
Where there's the away section. You have the supporter away
Yeah.
section at every game.
So here's what's funny. And again, I'll go into the secrets of the trade, right? So when we go into other WHL barns, usually what we do is we'll talk to them and say, hey, depending on where our players are from, usually when we go into the Swift Currents, we don't need a lot of tickets, but somehow Kelowna, Kamloops, we always need lots. And so when they come to Edmonton, and like the owners of the Saskatoon Blades are from Edmonton, the owners of the Tri-City Americans are from Edmonton, right? So they always need lots of tickets. And so they'll come to us and they'll say, hey, I need 40 tickets, I need 50 tickets, like whatever. And we're happy to oblige. I'll spread them out.
Oh,
right? Yeah. So anyone that's watching, I'm old school that way. In the fact, if you need,
brilliant.
Well,
that's brilliant.
I don't need to stack the deck against myself. And I want our team to feel it. But then when I go into their barn, so like we're going to Calgary. On February 2nd, the Oil Kings are playing in Calgary, and we're taking a bus full of our season seat holders. So we have a season seat holder base. They're called the Founders Club. So they're the people, in 2007, when the Oil Kings came back, they put their hands up and said, I want to be a season seat holder. And they've been a season seat holder consistently ever since. So, of course, the numbers always go down because like that's the way it goes. Because once you leave the Founders Club, you can't get back in. And so we're going to take a couple buses of Founders Club down to Calgary, and they put me all together. And I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Again, it's just a different mentality where we're going to have, 50, 75 people that are going to be wearing red Oil Kings jerseys, cheering together, so then we're going to draw energy. Whereas if they were smart, they would give me 5 here and 4 here and 6 over here, because that's what I do, because I don't want to give them that juice.
They're too focused on the business.
Absolutely.
They don't have the hockey in them or the competitor, and they're more,
they're too busy running my credit card.
Yeah, they're just like, we get cha-ching, cha-ching. And
yeah, like I really believe in keeping that home ice advantage and making it so that our players have every excuse to perform well. And at the junior level, and especially like a building like Rogers Place, there's a lot of junior players. Like when we had our Teddy Bear Toss on December the 1st, we had 17,200 fans there. And like that's a good number in an NHL market, right? And so then you start saying to yourself, if you're a junior hockey player playing in front of 17,000 fans, that'll only happen a couple times in your career, most likely. And our players, well, that was just a Saturday night, right? and so, but when the opponents come in, you want that feeling of like, oh wow, like I'm in the big time right now. And Rogers Place allows us to do that. But yeah, whenever I go on the road and they sit me all together, I kind of smirk a little bit. Is we're heading to Red Deer with some club seat holders at the end of the year, but we're going to Calgary with the Founders Club. And I've already talked to them. They're like, yeah, we'll put you all together. I'm like, thank you very much. This is great.
Yeah, sweet, awesome.
Yeah, don't expect the same nothing though. Yeah.
17,000. That's over 3 times the Arizona tennis.
Right? So what's funny is I'm going to the Coyotes game. They're doing a Coyotes game in
Mullet?
in the Mullet Arena on Valentine's Day.
Is it Valentine's Day?
It's on Valentine's Day, so I got my tickets. I've never been, but I want to go before the NHL pulls the plug there, and I want to see it. And I've seen videos, and it looks crazy sparse. I just want to see it.
Well, like to me, whenever they announce it, it's awful for business.
For
right?
sure.
I understand NHL wise, all that I get for business.
It's not on that level.
Right. But like imagine if the Oilers took Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl to Claire Drake.
Yes.
And you could be in a small little barn to watch
That's
those
why I
guys,
want to go.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like if you have a chance to go see just like the Foo Fighters at the Starlight Room.
Yeah.
I want that more than Rogers Place. Like that intimate atmosphere that you won't get that again.
100%.
And that's what Mullet Arena is to me.
And
it's
that's why
one like
going,
I think you're lucky. Like that would be so cool, just to experience for a game, right?
Exactly.
But also at the same time, it is terrible for business.
Absolutely.
Like they both can be true.
Yes. And I think that's one of the things that is missing these days is the fact that I can agree with you, but still fundamentally disagree with you, or I can understand what you're saying and just say I'm right and you're right. Like we're both these things can run parallel, but we can all acknowledge that this is not marketing plan A for the NHL. We can acknowledge that. But it should be a great time for the fans that are there. Have a couple beers and start chatting. Let's go.
A nice small little barn, watching some of the best in the world do what they do.
100%.
That just seems incredible. I was talking to
sign me up.
Daniel Nugent-Bowman from The Athletic. He says like for the writers and stuff, media, it's bad because once like something happens, people stand up and it blocks your view.
Oh, really?
You can't see. And you're trying to cover
to do my
game.
job here.
And then when you're trying to think, but you're like right there because there's no other spot for it. So for him, it's like it's a great atmosphere. He was saying it was awesome, but it's a little hard to cover the game because of just the way it's set up.
I wonder, like, I've always thought that as a sports writer, getting a different perspective sometimes can help. Like being your whole career sitting up in that press box, watching a game from there, it's like watching
you're a long
video
ways
game.
away from
And
the
it's
action.
everything.
Yeah.
You don't get a real grasp of the actual skill involved, the speed and the creativity at that, because you can't. They're
It's slow.
operating.
The higher you go, the slower it gets.
So I wonder if the writing style changes at an
Yeah.
arena like that, because you're so much closer to. You get to see the subtle little nuances of the game.
And to your point, Joaquin, like what I love is when you're close and you can start seeing like players like looking, right? Like just that quick glance, and then you see a wicked pass or whatever. You miss that from the higher up. And the Hall of Fame reporters that we have, they do a great job. But to your point, bring yourself down and you can really feel it different. I would totally think it would change.
Well, I guarantee if you took one of the writers and had him do one game up there, the other game by the glass,
It'd be a
it would
different
be a
story.
completely different story.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, what I'll say for the media is maybe that we could just give us back the loge seats that we had during COVID. When no one was allowed in the rink, we got our loge tables. And, maybe the Oilers could give us those seats, Maybe put in a good word, Kevin, for the media. They don't need it,
That
the
is
money
a-
away and give it to us,
Those are such great
That's
seats,
a
though.
nice
They're
area.
amazing.
I only went in there for the first time a few months ago.
Yeah.
The
And
loge?
For the first time?
I'd never been on that level. I had a friend that had a table.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this
yeah.
is a cool place to watch a game.
Oh, yeah.
Really nice.
And like concerts too, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I bet.
Again, depending where the
that'd be
stage
a good
location
one.
is, like they'll move you around. So if you're a Loge customer, you want to see the Foo Fighters or the whatever. It all depends on is it in the round or where's the stage line and all this. But the fact that I don't have to sit in hey, the chairs at Rogers Place are very comfortable.
Yeah.
But the fact that I could stand, right?
Yeah.
Or I can move around, and if it's a concert, you want to dance, like you know what I mean. Like to me, the Loge seating is such a gem of Rogers Place that I love it. I think inch per inch, it's the spot.
Okay, I have a question with that. This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato Caesar. Kevin Radomski of the Oil Kings, Director of Business Operations with us. Joaquin Gage, former NHLer. Two guys and a goalie right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. You can catch it at noon today with you, Cass, and Dusty. Concert etiquette. When can you stand? When can you sit?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think it all depends on the concert. It really does. But like to me, generally, if I'm going to a concert, I'm not going to sit. Like generally.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it all depends on where are you, who is the performer. If you start bringing in the older performers, like the Rod Stewarts of the world, and you're standing, right? I have maybe a little bit more of a beef with that. But if you bring in these younger performers, like if you're sitting during a Drake show, I have questions, right? Like I think it all depends on who it is. But I would never. It's so funny. On Tuesday night for the Oilers game, that empty net goal was one of the most dramatic empty netters I've ever seen. Right, just enough. It reminded me of that Tiger Woods Nike ball fall. Right, and so like, we're watching it, and there was a woman 2 rows in front of me that stood up for like the last 3 minutes. And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. There's no one else standing up but her right in front of me, right? But at a concert, it's kind of weird where when people stand up, like they're into it.
You're there to move a little and feel the music.
Yeah, like when you're standing during play at a hockey game, I think you're foul. But when you're standing during a concert and you're swaying and going, I feel bad for sitting. And I'll tell you, the artists do not want you sitting. They want you moving. They want that energy, right? But I do think it belongs on what the performer is. So like it is weird to say, but like I remember seeing Leonard Cohen at Rexall Place. I don't know if you guys even know Leonard Cohen. Like the guy was a legend. And he was doing his farewell tour because he was getting ripped off by his accountant. And he came out and said, like, listen, like I thought I had all this money. I don't. I'm going to do one more tour. Oh, yeah. And his ticket prices were higher. And he justified it by saying, all of my work has been gone. And he was elderly at the time. And I remember looking in the audience, and the audience was matching the artist, right? They were older people. They were people my mom and dad were older. And there was a lot of people that were still standing. I'm like, that's respect. But again, I think it all depends on the concert. But yeah, I don't ever get twisted if someone is standing up in front of me because I'm standing too.
Well, and that's I feel like if I want to sit, go home, watch the CD, or
Absolutely.
put on the CD. Like
If you're going
there,
to Motley Crue and you're sitting, I got a problem with you.
or like if you're don't be upset if everyone's standing around.
100%. Yeah, if you
like
want to
you
sit,
can't be upset about that, and that's so. I'll go. So is this a fair way to look at it? Floor seats absolutely expect to stand.
Absolutely.
Lower bowl probably likely standing.
Yep.
Upper bowl
Yep. Could
good
be
chance
seated.
of seating.
Yep, I agree with that.
Hey, that's all right.
Yep.
I still think at NHL games there should be a standing
Absolutely.
section.
Well, you know what's funny is you go to like, so every building has its own like nuance, right? And in Red Deer, they actually have a really open concourse at the PV Mart Centrum. They actually have an open concourse, so people stand. So a lot of times the seats are empty, but the people are there, but they're standing on the concourse. And Red Deer's got amazing ice cream. Let me just say that. Like you go to the Red
Ice
Deer.
cream?
Oh, their soft serve ice cream's amazing. People line up during the game.
That's all
for
Cam
the-
Moon.
right?
Cam Moon, but Cam Moon got that in. It was all
but
Mooner.
he never bought one in his life, though. Let's be straight. Come on. But like one of the things that you hate is that when you sell something and it's not consumed, you want to make it so the seats are full. But in Red Deer, just the way the way their bowl is, a lot of people stand around, and so you can look in the seats and be like, the seats are half full. You look on the concourse, it's packed, right? Everyone's crushing ice cream. But like it's that whole vibe. Every building has its own vibe, and I think it's so cool going into these different barns to feel it.
That was one of those rinks where I always had a good game.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I dominated it in Red Deer.
Really? Eh?
Yeah. I don't know
Gager
what it
owned
was.
it?
Yeah, I did.
I'll go change the Wikipedia to that.
Even though-
Gage, you're the new owner of the place.
Who was the GM at the time? Peter Anholt? I
So
think?
old Petey's been around a long time. He's been in Lethbridge forever. And
Oh,
ever
is he
and ever.
not?
Oh, yeah.
I think there was a point where he was
hard
actually
deal,
wanted
Peter.
to trade for me. So,
Really? Eh?
Yeah.
Peter, so here's a great story. Like you start looking like at the governor's level. So I'm privileged that I sit as an alternate governor. Kurt Hill, our president, general manager, is an alternate governor. Our governor's Kevin Lowe. Okay, so 6-time Stanley Cup champion Kevin Lowe is the governor of the Edmonton Oil Kings. And so you go into all these meetings, and there's all these personalities, right? And so a guy like Peter Anholt, nice guy, general manager, Lethbridge Hurricanes. He's very hard to deal with because he's so good at what he does. And Kelly McCrimmon used to be the owner of the Brandon Wheat Kings, had to give up all of that when he became...
Is he not allowed to be the owner?
No, so he gave it all up, but now because he's all in on Vegas. And I can tell you, we call him the Crim Reaper. And Crim would crush you on, like scheduling stuff. Like Crim got his way because he was so good at what he did. That sometimes like when you have an adversary, you can respect how good they are. It still like ticks you off, but you can be like, you got me again, okay? And that was Crim. And so when Crim goes to Vegas, I found myself cheering for Vegas because of Crim.
Yeah.
But I couldn't stand the guy in the WHL, right? Like every time we went to a meeting, he'd kick my ass and throw me out the door. And then when they won the Stanley Cup, you say to yourself, like, there's a reason why people are successful. And a guy like Kelly McCrimmon, a guy like Peter Anholt, here I'm pumping the tire. My poor GM is probably like a couple tire pumps for Kurt Hill too, right? But like when you start dealing with these guys, you start dealing with them, you get to know them a little bit, you get to know how they're wired. And guys like Peter Anholt, absolutely old school, but still really, really, really good at what he does.
Yeah.
You know, and he's in the league for a reason.
I'll say this about Kurt Hill. I could also see that I don't know how much longer he would have with the Oil Kings.
Again.
Because there's a guy that could, like, he's
We're
building
lucky to
another
have him.
winning team.
Yes.
He did it once. He's doing it again. And once you do it again, it's kind of like, okay, start the clock, you know?
And the worst thing about Kurt is he's a great guy. He's a handsome young fella, right? So, like, not only is he good looking, he's great at what he does, great human being. And a lot of times the general manager or the architect of the team works opposition to the business, right? Where it's just like, no, you don't get to do that. And by the way, I'm just going to make all these trades. Kurt is such an open book. Like him and I discuss things. I have zero input and he doesn't need my input for anything. But like he's so good in that he respects business. And a lot of times general managers don't care. And they think that those seats magically fill up by themselves. And there is a team of people that work their fingers to the bone to try and get people to come out. I don't care what market it is. But here at Edmonton, we're lucky. We have more than 1 million people here. It's still not easy enough to open my doors and just say people are going to come flying in. We got to be able to do the promotions. We got to be able to do the things that the general manager sometimes will railroad you on. And when you trade away players that, like Carter Kowalik from St. Albert, Wally was a great player. Kurt traded him. That's what it was. And we upgraded, right? And so then I say to him, like, I trust what you're doing. I've said the same thing for years. I think that the meter is running on Kurt because he's so good at what he does.
Yeah. Or if you build another great team, it's just going to happen. I do got to ask, whose idea was it for the under $10 kids concession items.
Yeah.
Because that is brilliant. If you go to an Oil Kings game, you bring your kids. If you go Sunday for the Oil Rumble, as the Oil Kings take on the Blades, you bring your kids under $10 for concession items. That is brilliant.
So, like the president of the business side, Stu McDonald, he loves junior hockey. That's another thing I'm really lucky for, right? That I work for people. Sometimes when companies own, like we're owned by the Oilers, I hope everyone knows that. But sometimes when conglomerate companies own a junior hockey team, they could care less. Mm-hmm. Our company loves the Oil Kings. Like when you come into the office tower at Rogers Place, like we have Jake Neighbors with the Ed Chanel Cup, like there. And there's Connor McDavid with a big celly. Like they're all in our lunchroom. You've seen them, Gager, right? Like it's not like in some companies I find that the junior hockey team kind of gets pushed to the side. And when I came back last December, we started talking about, hey, like what can we do to make so that there's no excuses to not come and to see the Oil Kings, because we know the hockey's fantastic. Like even if the Oil Kings don't win, you're going to have a great time watching what's on the ice. And the seats have always been very, very great value for families. They start at $20, but then one of the things we said is we don't want the value to stop after you bought your ticket. So we worked with our culinary team, and we said we want to do some kids' food combos, and it's not easy. Mm-hmm. It's not easy trying to reduce the prices of anything these days, because we all know, like when you were younger and you wanted to show how much money you had a thick gold chain or a big watch. Well, now you walk around with a bag of apples, and if you can afford a bag of apples, people are like, you're doing very well in life, right? And so what we did is we talked to our culinary team. We said we want to make it so that these are things kids want to eat. So we're talking pizza and fries. We're talking hot dogs and popcorn. And they're $10 or less. So we have 8 different kids' food combos. The lowest priced one's like a soda and a popcorn for $7.50. And I have 2 kids. You have kids. What we wanted to do is that with the Oil Kings, a lot of the audience is that repeat business. So we want families to be able to come 3, 4, 5, 10 times a year, whereas they may only come to one Oiler game because it's like at the end of the day, the Oilers games are not meant to be affordable because you have tremendous talent on the ice. You have Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
It's the best league in the world. You've got the best players in the world.
Yeah.
It's a premium price.
Exactly.
A concert
in the
comes to
premium
town.
building.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like
Paul McCartney rolls through town again.
Yes.
It's a different price because it's Paul freaking McCartney.
Yeah, there's no $20 tickets to Paul McCartney, right? And every night the Oiler fans are lucky to watch Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, and Zach Hyman in Rogers Place. And so what we've done is we've made it so that the family audience that comes to the Oil Kings can come multiple times because we've really challenged ourselves with the value, and we saw a tremendous uptake. It wasn't easy to get it over the finish line, and we just said, you know what, we're committed to it. Let's just see where it goes. And now families are feeling great about coming multiple times, and it's tons of fun. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Awesome. I do have to get to this nasty chat. Just concert-wise, VR Montenegro, just speaking of Rod Stewart, he said, I used to work building security at Rexall back in the 2000s. Rod Stewart brought out the most flashers I've ever seen at any concert. Those Cougars are wild.
So a couple of great stories from Rexall Place. I remember at Rexall, so Joaquin, when you guys would come in, you kind of walk down this ramp, and there was a security office off to your right. You'd come in there, and then you'd head off to the Oiler dressing room. So WWE had come through. We still had Joey Moss, R.I.P. Joey Moss, but he was a big wrestling fan. Like Mosser loved his wrestling. And the one thing Mosser always found time for is that whenever the wrestlers were in town, he'd always find time to kind of hang around more, right? His job was done for hours, but Mosser was always there. And back then, the WWE had their divas. And so Mosser always made sure they had towels. You know what I mean? Like he made sure those divas were well looked after. And so after the WWE would roll out, and so all of the wrestlers, they would be gone, there would be a stack of busted tables. Because that was the Attitude Era back then. And like I'm not talking 1 or 2. There'd be 20, 30 chunks of wood just in a pile in the back. And after a Rod Stewart concert, there was more undergarments from women that were stuck in the corner. And these cleaners, they would put them all in bags and put them there. So it was almost like a hat trick night where you'd have these bags of hats. After Sir Rod would roll through, there was undergarments like crazy. So if your texter worked at Rexall Place, they would know. And it's one of those things where it's interesting how some artists just command that action from their fans. And I don't think Rod's ever told anyone to do it. It just kind of happens. You know what I mean?
It's that flow.
Yeah, absolutely, right?
That flow going, it just leads to it.
I didn't, in Russia, like this is back.
One time in Russia.
We were back, like Rod Stewart came on at the bar, and everyone stopped.
What?
Really?
Yeah,
Like a song came on the jukebox kind of thing? Or
just over the
Okay.
and everyone started doing these motions like. It was like a synchronized. 3 Rod Stewart songs came out, and it was different every single time.
Different dancing?
So you
Different
missed the memo
dancing.
coming in, or what?
Well, we were all. I was with Team Canada. We were like, "What is going on
humble
here?"
brag, eh?
And
Humble
everyone, they were like, I was trying to learn them.
Yeah.
You know,
On the fly, that never works. Yeah.
But it stunned me how big. Like that's when you know a guy's a true superstar.
Yeah.
Where
You're moving the needle here.
Everyone's talking, and then all of a sudden everything just stops.
The maestro
And everyone-
from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
That song came on, he always had to stop.
Yes.
That was in Russia, but they danced.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was funny, but yeah,
That's how you know you've made it, for sure.
That's the way. That's how you get the undergarments.
Just be Rod Stewart.
Yeah.
But his kid played hockey.
Did he?
Did he? I didn't
Did
know.
Rod Stewart? Or who am I thinking of?
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, for sure.
Kurt Russell's son played hockey.
Yeah.
He was at
Something with
UBC.
Rod Stewart's kid.
Maybe.
Maybe the text line could help you out there.
There was something with that.
Yeah.
I'll have to look this up and see. If I can
Rod
do
the
it
Bod.
quickly.
It is cool though when these and I call them older artists, right? Like when the Kisses come through and the Rod Stewarts and the Elton Johns. And one of the challenges you have now in concerts is the fact that they're postponing a lot because these guys are they're old, right?
Yeah.
And so like I remember when Paul Stanley got sick in Toronto, they had to cancel their show, and they're like, there will not be another show because this was it.
Yeah.
Right. But it's one of those challenges where they're on the road now. And, you know, a little sickness, they want to be able to give the best show possible.
Yeah.
And especially a person like Rod Stewart or Elton John, they are the show, right? Where if Gene Simmons is sick, and Gene sings, but like they could kind of limp through it, right? Like with Motley Crue, like Vince Neil hasn't sung a note and tune for like 25 years. It doesn't stop people from buying tickets. But yeah, if you're a one-man show like a Rod Stewart or a Shania Twain, you're not feeling well. There's no show.
Yeah.
Like there's not enough fluff to pull you through, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'll say it is a challenge though, as you know, like the venues and everything is so meticulous now that if Kiss misses this show, it can affect that show, and everything is so it's a business, right?
Yeah.
And it's a big business, and that little hiccup can cause a tremendous tsunami somewhere else. And you know what? I started talking when I brought Marilyn Manson to town. Manson played at the convention center. It was a great show. And then he went down south. I can't remember if it was Lethbridge. I think it was his next show. He got into a fight with a fan, in a Denny's at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Really?
Yeah. I can't make it's out there. He got what is Marilyn Manson doing in like a Denny's at 6 in the morning? I couldn't tell you. Got into a fight with a fan. Canceled the rest of his tour. So I'm a promoter. Being like, if his routing had been Lethbridge up,
You would have been screwed.
I would have been screwed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rage Against the Machine was a tough one because everyone wanted them to come back.
Yeah.
Launched, COVID.
Yeah.
Postponed, COVID.
And
postponed,
now,
drummer injury, and now they say we're never touring
done.
again.
Really?
There's a certain irony, right, where Tom Morello has done so much to talk about, you know, like their name, Rage Against the Machine, and their ticket prices are $400. Like it does sting a little bit when you've primed the pump, and the pump is telling you, you might be kind of on thin ice here on, you know, talking about, you know, the Rage Against the Machine, and you're charging some pretty high ticket prices. I'm a big Rage fan. I always have been. You know, like since Bomb Track, like I've been a huge Rage Against the Machine fan. But even I was looking at those prices like, come on, man. Like,
but that would have been a great show to see.
Show.
Zach
De La Rocha's
it's one you'd
amazing.
have to go.
Yes.
To go
Who
see.
was,
Liam Stewart was Rod Stewart's kid.
really?
Oh, no way.
With Rachel Hunter. And
Okay.
he played for the Chiefs.
In the
Spokane.
WHL, no
He was in the
less.
dub. That's
Wow.
back. He's now playing with Milton Keynes in England.
So you know what's even better?
Or
is if-
Milton Keys or whatever.
Is if we would have had Andrew Peard, who's our play-by-play guy, Andrew would have known that. He's the Bob Stauffer of the Edmonton Oil Kings. Yeah. Sorry,
Andrew,
Peardo, you
text
should have
us.
been here. Yeah.
You could have texted us.
Where were you, Peardo?
Yeah, I didn't get a text from you, Andrew. So I'll just say that.
Twitching somewhere right now. Eh? Why are they sending the business guy to talk hockey? Why are they sending the business guy?
What's been your best concert you've ever been to?
Oh boy, the best concert I've ever been to. You know what's so funny is one of the things at Rogers Place is there's a lot of young staff, and I'm not a young man. And my favorite, like most, like just magical concert was AC/DC 1993 in Rexall Place. It was the Black Ice, or it was the
Thunderstruck?
No. It was the Black Ice tour.
Oh, okay.
Black Ice was 09.
No.
Black Ice was the Commonwealth
Hail
show.
Hail Caesar tour. And so this young guy, his name is Nabil, and he works for our merchandise company. And Nabil comes in my office, and he's wearing a tour shirt from AC/DC from the Hail Caesar tour. And he's like, yeah, man, I bought this at wherever he bought it from. They got these retro T-shirts. And I'm like, you little prick. I bought that. I was at that show. I bought that shirt for $20, and now they're selling it for $65. But I would say, honestly, I remember that show. Like, I've been to 13 Motley Crue shows. I'm a big Motley guy.
Yeah.
Each one's worse than the last.
I've been to a couple.
They're horrible.
And you're right. Like, well, Vince Neil doesn't sing
He can't
anymore.
sing.
He just puts the mic on and gets you to sing.
yes.
But they are fun to have gone to.
Yeah.
I'm glad I saw Motley live a couple of times.
It drives people crazy when I'm this big Motley Crue fan. So Vince Neil played for me in my bar, and he was. I would say to you that he was better than I thought he would be. He still was full of shenanigans, but not too bad. But I'm passionate Motley Crue. But the people who go to Motley Crue shows, they kind of like, you can wear earplugs. You're just there watching with your eyes, right? You want to feel the pyro and the snaps. But if you're going there for a demonstration of vocal excellence, I would say your money's probably better kept at home. And they don't make any apologies about it. That's the difference. Motley Crue does not pretend to sound good. And that you've seen that like abominable snowman gif of it looks just like Vince Neil. Yeah. And Vince is like, stop sending this to me because like he's gained some weight, he's lost his vocals. But yet, if they came back, I'd still give them my money.
Would you?
Oh, it's painful. Yeah.
What about the Sphere? Like watching
that'd be great to go see a show.
I like U2, but hearing it didn't sound great.
Yeah, it's totally ironic.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Were they not good? Because like apparently the sound system there was supposed to be brilliant.
I've heard the same
Bono
thing.
didn't sound great.
It just didn't resonate or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the venue or whatever.
Maybe the venue's not built for live performances.
Better be.
Yeah, for that part.
Maybe in the end, as much as we think it's going to be great, maybe it's just not meant for that.
Yeah.
AC/DC 09 at Commonwealth.
There you go.
Was the one.
Yeah, and it rained during Hell's Bells.
And Thunderstruck during Thunderstruck
so
and
it
stuff.
started raining during Hell's Bells, and then thunder started cracking.
And then Angus Young had the solo with just pouring rain on him, and it was. I don't think I'll ever see something better than that one.
It is backstage. So I've been privileged enough to be backstage. I haven't met AC/DC, but I've watched them backstage. They drink copious amounts of tea. Malcolm Young has pots of tea everywhere. And like, I don't know what he was like in the 70s. Okay, I'm gonna take a wild guess.
It wasn't tea.
Yeah. Just looking at it,
there's something else in that tea.
Exactly. I'm talking like herbal tea everywhere. Huh. Gene Simmons has like Halloween candy, miniature candies, like every 5 feet. and I was privileged enough to be. It was funny. It was at the Saddle Dome in Calgary, and Buck Cherry was playing with. They were opening for the Kiss, and I had promoted Buck Cherry a whole pile of times. I know the guys. Josh Todd, the lead singer, and Keith Nelson was the guitar player at the time. And they're like, "Why don't you come and see us?" And they say, like, "What show do you want to come to?" And I said, "Well, where are you guys playing?" Well, Calgary or Kingston. I'm like, I'll pick Calgary. And of course, they have no clue. Like, is Kingston in Alberta or British Columbia? They have no idea, right? God bless them. But so we get backstage, and I'm hanging with the Buck Cherry guys, and they are like the loosest guys, and they're all sober, right? So like, Josh Todd hasn't had a drink of booze in like 10 years, and probably more than that, probably 15 years. And then he goes, you can do whatever you want. You can't eat any of this candy. And there's like bowls. Like I can see bowl. I'm like, what? He goes, that's Gene's candy. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah, like Gene will just be walking by and he'll just grab candies. And so I was like, get out of here. He's like, yeah, he goes, we're not allowed to touch it. And I'm like, okay, can you imagine Kevin Radomski goes and grabs a piece of candy, Buck Cherry's kicked off the tour, right? But yeah, it was this trail of candy that Gene just like likes to graze on, like Halloween candy, for lack of a better term. I just love it. I love the fact that they were like, whatever you want, you can do. Just don't touch the candy. It's Gene's candy. Yeah.
Buck Cherry's good. I like him live.
Buck Cherry's great. And great guys. Like really, really good guys. They were so gracious that they played my bar at King's Night Pub, and their bus broke down in Ontario, funny enough. And so they phone me. The tour manager phones me and says, "Hey, we're just outside of Guelph. Like, how close are we to Edmonton?" I was like,
hike, right? Yeah. Okay, you'll be here in no time.
Yeah, the Uber will get you here in at least half an hour. So they had to fly in. And I had never met them before, and they were flying in via Winnipeg. And so here I am, I'm stressed out, and I'm the promoter, right? And I'm like, how do I know who Buck Cherry is? And it was great. This whole plane full, it was like 8 o'clock in the morning. It's like, like normal person, neck tattoo, normal person. Like, you're Buck Cherry, and you're Buck Cherry. And they're all tatty. Like Josh Todd, the lead singer, is like tattied. Like, he's got that whole back tatty. He was doing the back tatty before no one else was doing it. Everyone's doing it now. But it was just hilarious because I remember being stressed. The very first performer I saw was just full of tats. I'm like, yeah, you're good. All these other people from Winnipeg were pretty easy to say they were from Winnipeg. And it was just one of those things where your stress just goes down instantly. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's great.
Before we got on, you said you had stories about Gager.
Oh, yeah, I got. Yeah,
I would love to get a story about Gager.
And this is me pumping your tires. I've told this story before.
Oh, we're pumping his tires.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
well, we're going to talk about something else right now.
So you and I, and there was a whole bunch of us, we were in Lloydminster, Alberta, Saskatchewan. I can't remember what side we were on, but we were in Lloydminster for Hockey Day in Canada. And you were there. And I know for sure Fernando Pisani was there, Jason Strudwick, Sean Brown, really, really good. Like, the Edmonton area is blessed with tremendous alumni, of which you're one. I was telling Joaquin, if Brownie's watching this, Brownie called me on the way in. I'm like, I'm talking to other people. I'm here with Gager. So Brownie, I'll call you back. But, so we're in there, and you were wearing a GoPro. There's two things I remember about, because we were doing a charity game. And there was a person who still works in media, so I'm going to keep it. I'm going to hide their identity. They were announcing everyone as they were coming on the ice, right? And I'm playing that for your Edmonton Oilers alumni, Joaquin Gage. And then the last person, let me see if you remember this. The last person that was coming on was Fernando Pisani, and this female was saying, and he scored the game-winning goal to bring the Stanley Cup back to Edmonton in 2006. Fernando Pisani. And you can hear you laughing through the GoPro. And you can see Pisey, he's skating, like, staring at her. And we're all just like, you remember this one?
Oh, yeah.
And like, we were all just like, what? Like, he scored an overtime goal to force game 6.
Yeah, brought the game back to game 6 in Edmonton, but not the cup.
He didn't win the cup. And it was one of those things that when the toothpaste is out of the tube, you can't put it back in, right? And so Gager's in that.
I like that you're laughing too.
Oh, but
you're done, but you're laughing.
Well, they were supposed to be the big, like, Fernando gets a big applause.
Absolutely. And deserved. Yeah, and it was one of those, just like, I remember where I was, and then of course we're watching the video. You could hear Gager's going for it, right? And so then the other thing I remember is you were in net, and as the skaters were all coming down, you're calling it, and you were like literally 5 for 5, where you're like, oh, he's gonna go low stick, and then Struddy would go like low stick or whatever. There was every shooter that was coming in on you. You called what they were going to do. And it entertained me so much because people don't understand the knowledge that goalies have on shooters. And you were like, if I could have bottled it up and sold it, I'd be like, you think you could play net? This guy knows what these guys are going to do before they know what they're going to do. Like, do you remember that?
No, I wish I still had that video.
It's got to exist somewhere.
Legitimize me in some respect. We had a shootout at the end, and so there was like 10 guys, and I called every single. And it was funny because after like 6 guys, I forget who he could hear me.
And it was in your ear? Yeah.
So, no, he could hear what I said. I couldn't hear him.
Oh, okay.
But after like the 6th guy, I looked at him, and he was dying laughing because, and then I think the last guy was McSorley, and I was like, I don't know what he's going to do. And he got halfway, and I go, oh, he's doing something stupid. Yeah. And he goes, and then he shot, and I goes, went for the GoPro. He tried to hit the GoPro off my helmet. But that was fun. That was a great time.
Did you stop Struddy?
Oh, I stopped everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, well, because Struddy's big claim to fame was he was 1-for-1 in the shootout in the NHL.
For the New York Rangers that year?
Yeah, he was the one that scored before. So you stopped Struddy.
Yeah.
So his record isn't as much there.
You notice how he doesn't mention that?
Yeah.
We had Struddy on one here a few months ago.
How many hours did it go?
Just carved Gager when Gager was
Get out of here.
It's okay.
That's true.
I went on his show and I got him back.
Did you?
Oh yeah.
When you were with Shock?
Yeah. I did this whole research on why he hates goalies so much, and it doesn't make sense because I went through his the stats of his goalies that he played with and how good they were and how they covered all his mistakes. And so it was, I don't know if Shaggy's ever going to have me back after that. Whatever.
So here's a great Strutty story. So we're doing the Oilers hockey school out in St. Albert at Service Credit Union. And so we bring guys like Gage out and Brownie and Strutty and when I was running the Oilers alumni, I would give guys, like golf shirts and track suits and especially guys that have played for multiple teams. Like Paul Coffey played for like 3/4 of the NHL by the time he was done, right? But we were always blessed that a lot of the alumni saw themselves as Oiler alumni, even though they were also Pittsburgh Penguin and this and this and this. So Jason is coming out, and he's a big get, right? Like Fernando gets a lot of pomp and circumstance, and so does Strutty. Strutty's awesome. So he comes in, and I always remind the guys, hey, like, don't forget, bring your tracksuit, and you're going to sign some autographs. I'll have the cards and the Sharpies, this. So Jason's got his Oilers tracksuit on with his New York Rangers pants. and I come in the dressing room, and Jason, right? Strutty's like, what? Well, you told me to bring some pants. And I remember looking at him like, you got to be kidding me right now. Like, you're telling me that as you were leaving your house, you're like, there's nothing wrong with this, right? Whatsoever, right? And all he wants is another pair of pants. Like, that's all he wants. And if he had asked me for another pair of pants, I'd give it to him. So I always have to bring an extra everything because you don't know what these alumni are going to roll up in. And when Jason rolled up with his Rangers pants, you die a little bit inside.
Oh, Strutty. We love that guy. Yeah. I could see Strutty doing that completely.
Yeah. It's a Strutty thing.
He's such a funny man. The one, we did this thing in Cold Lake, I think it was, and I actually played on the other team, and their goalie, Strutty would tell this story way better, but he was an older guy. He was like...
The goalie was?
Yeah, he was drafted like years ago, and he starts putting on all his gear, but he doesn't... he doesn't have any like underwear. He's just putting it all over his clothes.
Oh, wow.
And so it's just... I had to go to the bathroom because I was laughing so hard because Strutty's all over this. It was, hey, buddy, you need some underwear there and stuff, and like just and put his pads on backwards, and he's going, Gage, you're help this guy. Yeah. I can't do anything with it, but God, he was ruthless.
You don't get no free passes.
No. It was really good.
We could bring him in now. We have a fourth member of the Hangout today. I didn't mention it to
How are you? Good morning.
Gage a little bit earlier. This is the EST Hangout presented by Mott's Clamato, Caesar, Iwanyk, Joaquin Gage, Kevin Radomski. He is with the Edmonton Oil Kings Director of Business Operations, and now joining us, Darell Davis, Honorary Chair of Quickcard Edmonton Minor Hockey Week. If you swing that mic over in front of you,
there we go,
and you speak into
the side of it,
okay. And we are good to go. Darell, thanks for jumping in with us.
You'll be one of the busiest guys in Edmonton right now.
Hey, didn't I just see you over at Rogers Place?
Yeah.
This is Movers and Shakers brought to you by Marco Mike Realty One Group
Movers
Insiders. If you're looking to buy and sell your home, check out marcomike.com for more information on that dynamic duo. How has things been with Minor Hockey Week?
It's been busy. It's been really busy, but it's a fun busy, and it's hugely exciting. We've got 696 teams playing.
Pause for a second. Just under 700 teams.
Yes, yeah, and somebody asked me the other day, why is this tournament so exciting? What brings? And it's just simply the fact that we've got all these teams playing 930 games in 10 days. Yeah. That is what makes it really exciting.
Yeah, the sheer numbers are just staggering.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's just...
and this is the 60th year.
60th year.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Back in the day, my dad started the tournament back in '63, along with three other guys, and they thought the tournament would last maybe 5 years. They were hoping, and lo and behold, we're at 60. So it's quite amazing.
I remember my son playing in it, and the fact that I think the reason why it gets so exciting is there's always something to play for.
Yeah.
And you're going to different spots, maybe playing against teams that you don't normally play against.
Buildings you may not normally go into.
And parents, hockey parents, we're all crazy, and so it as the level progresses, it becomes more and more exciting, and you just see it in the kids. They get all wrapped up in it too, right? They're constantly seeing other teams and how you doing. Oh, we won this game. Like there's all these bragging things. So it's an awesome time.
And you're absolutely right. And the original idea behind the tournament was, I played for Westmount, the Westmount Wolves, and we played outdoors. And in 63, 64, they thought, well, let's have a tournament where the community teams get to travel to the south side. I played against Englewood, Glenora, North Glenora, Sherbrooke, and that was it. There was no trophies at the end. There was no really kind of organized end to the season. And then all of a sudden they decided to come up with this tournament, and we got to travel across the city. And not only that, we got to play indoors if we made it to the end.
That's the ultimate carrot dangle. You want to play indoors or what?
Exactly. So, and my first indoor game was at Coronation Arena, and I'll never forget it. I was standing on the ice, looking up at the ceiling lights while guys were skating by me. It was pretty memorable.
That's right. Best part of minor hockey week too. Like we all talk about it. It's the overtime too. How it just breaks down and
nothing else
4
like
for
it.
3 on 3, 2 on 2 or something like. It's the most exciting thing to watch. And whenever you talk about NHL overtime, people bring up Edmonton minor hockey. They got to do like Edmonton minor hockey week.
Now, rumor has it, and I haven't heard this directly. I've talked with Kevin Lowe several times, but he has mentioned that he took the overtime structure to the Board of Governors.
I believe he would have.
And tried to pitch it. And they didn't go for it. But the 3-on-3 in the 5-minute overtime, I'd like to think was maybe a little bit of an influence.
You kind of cracked the window open, right? Yeah.
I'm thinking we might.
I'd love to hear what the other guys said to that. What did Lou Lamoriello have to say to we're going to go to 2-on-2 at one point.
Don't worry, Lou. Everyone will be clean shaven, though. Don't worry about it, Lou. We're good.
Well, it's almost like if you had a game Pittsburgh and Edmonton, you want to go down Connor and Crosby one-on-one. Come on.
Like the pay-per-view on that.
Okay, here's a question. Colorado Avalanche. McKinnon, McCarr. Do you go Leon and McDavid together, or do you get a defender out there? Or do you try to have those two
go the
together?
nuclear weapon and get it done?
I think you might just even go McLeod and Connor. Just for the way he's playing right now.
100%.
And the speed. You can't match it.
And the fact that, the face-off is at the closest face-off dot when the buzzer goes. So there's strategy involved. Sorry, excuse me. And do you pull your goalie? Get another forward out there. And especially if you're in the attacking zone. And
pressure on the draw.
We did that. We did that for sure. As soon as we got control, goalie came.
Well, what's funny is we actually hosted the Quickcard Edmonton Minor Hockey Week press conference at Rogers Place. And so we had local product, Mark Lajoie, so he's a 20-year-old defenseman for us. And we had Cole Miller there as well. And so, full disclosure, it was on our trade deadline, right? So it was on the 10th of January that we did the press conference. And I didn't know if Lajoie, because Lajoie has been lighting it up. Like as a defenseman, 6'6", 220-pound junior hockey player, the general manager, Kurt Hill, was getting calls on him. And so when I had him speak, he very well could have walked off and we traded him, right? And that morning we had traded the player from St. Albert. And so you're like, okay. And so then I'm sitting talking to Cole Miller, and he looks over at the poster for Quickcard Edmonton Minor Hockey. He goes, "That's me." And it was it was Cole Miller.
Really?
Yeah, he took out the Sharpie and he signed your pull-up bar. I gave it back to Kylie, and it was just so cool to see. Here's Cole Miller. He's a local product, and he's just like, "That's me." And here he is playing in the Western Hockey League. You got someone like Mark Lajoie, 20 years old, in his last year as a junior player, talking about his memories of Quickcard Edmonton Minor Hockey Week, and just how you could see him light up as he talked about it. And the Oil Kings are so proud to be a partner with you guys, and to really, because that's what it's all about. I loved it. I thought it was the coolest thing.
Oh, neat. Neat. Speaking of press conferences, a few years ago, Matt Benning spoke at one of them, and he was kind of reminiscing about his dad, Brian Benning, coaching during minor hockey week, and the decision that he made. They won the game, but Matt was going, I don't know if you should have done that.
It's got to be one of the hardest things, though. Like our assistant coach is Serge Lajoie, right, from the U of A.
Yeah.
He coached in the Western Hockey League, and he's the father of Mark Lajoie, the defenseman.
Yeah.
And Serge runs the defenseman.
Yeah.
And when Kurt Hill traded for Mark, he didn't talk to Serge. Because it's still his father, right? And so, like, there's that dynamic. But then, how special would that be for Matt and Brian, for Serge, and to do that? You know what I mean? To be able to say that not only am I a coach in this great game, I'm coaching my son. Like, that's pretty cool.
Well, I think that's why, like, LeBron is pushing really hard to play with his son in the NBA, to take to the next level, to be like, I play with my son in the highest of levels. How cool it would be.
I'm trying to get that. That's huge.
Is the only other one the Hows that ever did that professionally?
Like
Father's son.
Didn't Griffey?
Ken Griffey?
Wasn't there something with Griffey?
Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that in the Memorial Cup, in the history of the Memorial Cup, there's only one father-son combo, and it's Al Hamilton and Steve Hamilton. So Al Hamilton won it as a player. Steve Hamilton won it in 2014 with the Edmonton Oil Kings as our assistant coach, our associate coach to Derek Laxdal. And they're the only father-son combo on that trophy. And the Memorial Cup, for those who don't know, like, that thing is hard to win, right? You got to
trophy
win.
in all sports.
There's no question. You got to, you're champion from the Western League and the Ontario League and the Quebec League, and the host play it out. And the Western Hockey League has not had a champion for the Memorial Cup since the Oil Kings in 2014.
Damn right.
And you know what it is? Like, I think it's a lot to do with the geography. Look at the Western League. We have from Victoria to Brandon, and these kids are rambling on a bus, right? They're still in school doing their schooling. They're getting beat down on the boards, and they're traveling like this between Brandon and Victoria, trying to get it done. And when you look at that geography that we cover, there's no question why a lot of the winners come from the O and the Q. A lot of those kids go home after games. Our team started in Prince George, British Columbia, post-Christmas. December 27th, we were in Prince George. They didn't come home until January the 6th. Oh, my goodness. And we bust. And like I said, we bust. Prince George, Victoria, Vancouver, Everett,
And that's not all prairie rides, right?
Yeah,
they're in the mountains and all.
I do
100%.
think when scouts do look at that they take into account, because I remember my first year pro, you could definitely see the wear down of guys, because we played 72 games. I think in the Ontario League they played 63 or something weird like that, 64. But the college guys, by January they were done. Because they didn't play as much as we did. And the travel was crazy.
Dash, who was on the show yesterday, he did say on August 31st, 1990, 40-year-old Ken Griffey Sr. and 20-year-old Ken Griffey Jr. became the first father-son to play as teammates in MLB.
Very
so
cool.
They had that one. With minor hockey, there's a lot of rinks you guys are going to have to use to play all these games,
32 different arenas that we take place. I was just out to St. Albert, Stony Plain last night, and the buzz was just amazing at the Glen Hall Arena out in Stony Plain.
Yeah, it's a great old barn.
A little rinky-dink barn, and they've got it was packed, and people were buzzing, and the kids were playing, and it was just amazing to see. We've got it's really nice because we've got this interlock from the outside of the Edmonton area as well. Ardrossan, Legal has a outlet. I was out to Beaumont. And some great rinks out there. A lot of these leisure centers get sponsored by different companies, corporations, and that. They're beautiful. And, of course, Sherwood Park and St. Albert have always been there for many, many years. But just really great to kind of travel around and see what's going on in terms of hockey and the facilities that are out there. It's really we've come a long way.
That Ardrossan Arena is no joke.
Oh, that's a nice one, yeah.
I went out there first time this year.
Yeah.
Oil Kings, we brought some players out because there was a big tournament going on, and we brought some players to guest coach. I'm thinking to myself, like, I'll go to this Ardrossan Arena, and like Sean Brown lives out towards Ardrossan, and I was like, I'll go out there. And as I'm pulling up, like my jaw like hit my knee, right? I was just like, wow,
It's
what
really
a
nice.
beautiful facility. You wouldn't expect it.
Yeah.
There's still something about going into like the old Glen Hall Arena.
yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
smell
That
is,
ice, yeah.
The smell is such a trigger to memories because you'll go in and you'll just smell the Zamboni and the
Smells
ice.
like a
and I
rink.
just, I revert right back to as a kid.
100%.
Just going into
because it was a
those
magic
old
place.
days. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we had a little bit of a problem with one of I think it was the Legal Arena. On Saturday or Friday night, it was minus 39.
Minus ridiculous.
Yeah, minus stupid here. Yeah.
Minus stupid. And apparently in Legal Arena, it was minus 20 in the arena. Inside. And we were getting calls. Our Ray Vigneault, who is kind of our go-to guy, and he was getting calls from parents in Ardrossan who had to make the trip. And of course, it was the U9. So, and they were going, it's really cold. Are you sure we can? Are you sure the game's going to go? It's minus 20 in the arena.
The spectators keep getting frostbite.
This is just like the old days.
Absolutely.
Playing outside.
Go outside to warm up.
What does it mean to continue carrying this on since your dad started? We're talking about father and sons. You mentioned
That's
that your
pretty
father
good.
started that. How important is that to you?
It is really special. They asked me to be the honorary chair this year. I've been on the committee for years and doing that kind of work. And I've stepped away the last few years, but to be the honorary chair is really special. Recounting those old stories of when my dad was running the minor hockey week tournament, and it's a special link there, and I think I told that story at the press conference where my dad back in 73, 74, my dad found out that the Winnipeg Jets were playing in Edmonton. Against the Oilers, and so he decided to see if Bobby. He knew where the Jets were staying. Phones up the Hotel McDonald and says, "Can you patch me through to Bobby Hull's room?" And of course they did.
Of course, why wouldn't they? Right?
Of course.
So he says, "It's Fern Davis here. I'm with Minor Hockey Week, and we've got the finals today, just ahead of the game that you're going to play against the Oilers. And would you like to come out and hand out some trophies?" And Bobby Hull, I don't know if you've ever met him or not, but he was very gregarious and outgoing, and he said, "Sure, I'd love to." So Dad says, "I'll meet you in front of the hotel. I'll pick you up in half an hour." No security, no
escorts,
no escorts. Do I know this guy? So anyways,
in the car he goes.
So Dad goes down, picks him up. Off they go to the arena, and he hands out trophies. Had a blast, And there's actually a picture in the Hockey Edmonton magazine of Bobby Hull handing out trophies and on the ice at the old Edmonton Gardens, and he was late getting ready for his game, and his coach chewed him out. And of course, Hull says, it was a fun time. So, but you think about those kinds of things today, and oh gosh, I'm still trying to get maybe some Oilers or some Oil Kings maybe to come out and for maybe Sunday or Saturday if their schedule permits it. But so it's great old stories.
Finals are Sunday?
Finals are Sunday, Saturday and Sunday. Because there's so many different divisions now.
Yeah.
How many divisions again?
Oh gosh, there's I can't remember how many divisions there are, but we go pretty well all day Saturday and Sunday with finals. There's so many, under 11. There's
There's a
can't
bunch of
remember.
different
Oh, yeah.
championships in there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think one of the coolest things too is that the referees and linesmen all donate their time, right? And
Yes.
it's like when you start thinking about what made you successful for 60 years and how are you able to do that? It's because of the community,
Yes.
right? Like,
Yes.
like, would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It takes thousands of volunteers to do this, and our referees are our biggest sponsors, really, because they donate all their reffing time to us, and like I said, arena managers are unbelievable. They just keep everything running.
Yeah.
They deal with all the write-ups, all of the incidents, making sure that all the players get to play at least 2 shifts per period, because soon after the tournament started, coaches were really invested in winning. And they would sit their not so great players. And of course, that wasn't
That's
at all
not
the spirit.
Yeah.
So they a couple of years after, they fixed that and said, you got to have 2 shifts per player per period.
Nice. That's perfect.
And so that fixed that pretty quick.
Yeah.
But and the periods are run time; they're straight time. So there's no sitting around arguing with the refs or
It's go.
It's
Oh,
go.
yeah.
Let's get going. And some of the new coaches. Yeah, they're not. They don't get used to that right away, but they do.
Yeah.
Well, you got to play 900 games. You got to finish a lot of these games.
This clock is non-stop.
That's right. We don't have time to have these little chats or something with the ref. It's like, hey,
Yeah. And I was out to one game, and the refs did just an outstanding job of moving the game along. So there was a little bit of an injury, and of course the one team was ahead by 1 goal, and they're taking their time. The refs are okay. Let's go. Got to go.
Almost like soccer. They just kind of
You want to kill the time.
Okay, keep going.
In soccer, you take but you also try to kill the clock. You try to waste the time. These refs, no, they're not going to allow this here.
There's a real beauty to that.
Let's get going.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this city I don't think would ever let this go away now.
I don't think so.
Like we're never going to have a point where also minor hockey week's not happening.
Well,
Because everyone around will come together if they have to in some way, shape, or form. Be like, no, this is happening again because it's just part of Edmonton.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you look at Lyle Best from Quickcard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like Lyle Best, he was up on the podium and you could feel how proud he was.
Oh, absolutely.
And he even during the press conference, like, how many more years are we in on this? Because it doesn't matter. But again, like when we talk about the community, we're blessed to have great alumni from the Oilers here. We're also really, really blessed that the business leaders, people like Lyle Best, they believe in the power of the community, the power of sport, and just how it interlocks and connects the fabric. And not a lot of communities have that. But here at Edmonton, I think it has something to do with us being minus 40 and the fact that we're all in this together. And if you're here and you're doing business, people understand that there's an expectation that we're going to help out and make sure that things like this, the Edmonton Minor Hockey Week, can carry on.
Yes, absolutely. I've been out to dozens of arenas and talking to arena managers and volunteers, and they absolutely love it. There's no, this is onerous or this,
There's no dread that minor hockey week's coming or something.
They're there and they're pumped and they're excited about it. And that is volunteerism is still alive and well.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it ends this weekend, which is going to be
That's exciting.
You've got a lot of hockey going on in this city, and
what's really cool too is that the champions and the volunteers, the officials, we give them tickets to the Oil Kings as well, and they get to pick their game. And there's nothing better than saying, "Hey, I got a medal, and I get to go as a team to an Oil King game as well." And it's one of those things that we do it because we love it. But it's so much fun when you come to an Oil King game and there's a whole team sitting together, and sometimes they wear their jerseys. And like it's a lot of fun. And I think of I'm jealous of that. Like when I was young, I didn't have those opportunities, but to be able to give these young boys and girls an opportunity, I think it's so much fun.
Do the winning pictures of the team still go in the newspaper, or is it newspapers just because they're not there anymore? Because that was the thing. Like, newspapers are a big deal, and it was on the Monday or Tuesday or whatever after minor hockey week. All the winning photos would
It's
be
like a
there.
whole insert.
Well, it was, and the journals kind of stepped away from minor sports and that
Local sport, for
local
sure.
sports.
Yeah.
Well, media in general has kind of done that.
And I don't know if the Sun is still doing that. I don't. They used to have the inserts. I don't know that they do that anymore. And
Because that was always a cool thing.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're
To
big
see-
time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I know that Rob Suggett with the Hockey Edmonton magazine does a wonderful job.
Yeah.
And if you're out in the arenas, pick up a magazine. And for the 60th.
It's a high quality magazine.
It
too.
is.
You
It
bet.
is.
Yeah.
And he just does a beautiful job. I was just talking with him the other day, and he's going to be at the finals. And I believe that the spring edition comes out with the winners of
there
minor
you go.
hockey
Good.
week.
Yeah.
So he does that. He gets his photographers to take team pictures of
It's still
of
done.
It's still done.
It is one of the challenges, though, and like, hey, I'll go off in the ditch here a little bit, but it's a challenge when there's this conglomeration of media, and the local is really struggling, right? Like, you look at this, you guys created your own space, but then you look at, like, I remember when we would do press conferences, and there would be cameras and reporters, and now you've got a person, if you're lucky, that's also doing the video, that's doing the write up, that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what used to take 4 people, you're lucky if you see one, and that's that whole cut back. And I understand it. Like, I get it, but I don't get it at the same time.
Yeah.
And it hurts.
The loss
it
of
hurts.
TV stations, sports, is one of the biggest.
Absolutely.
You know,
And to lose
Global
those
was
news
huge
anchors,
for that.
absolutely.
They would always go in the community. They would film those
Yeah.
things. Newspaper writers, people would buy newspapers, so there'd be a bunch of writers at both papers, and they were owned by different companies at the time. So they each had to employ massive departments, and you would have all that coverage. And it when it goes away, well, now you got to focus on what's the biggest eyeballs, and that starts with the Oilers.
Yeah.
Well, who also, and it's funny because they also don't need it,
No.
right?
Yeah.
Like the Oilers would be fine with getting their message out there if they never had a single person cover them.
But you take a look at
But
the
you
coverage
have to
they
cover
get,
them.
it's still a lot
They need
smaller than it used to be, right? Like, it's not even close.
Yeah.
And there's so many stories that could be told, but I understand it.
Yeah.
But it's just, like when I think of, Quickcard Edmonton Minor Hockey Week, when I think selfishly of the Edmonton Oil Kings, the Stingers, the Riverhawks, like all of these local teams, they need that coverage, whether it be on the radio station dial, the newsprint, like, and that's one of the things that we're all carving it out, trying to still have our voices heard, but it's just different now.
One of my favorite media takes was a number of years ago when Kevin Carius used to broadcast from an arena.
Oh, wow.
And usually
you can hear the boards banging in the background.
With John Sexsmith coaching on the bench.
Yes.
And he'd be out there on the bench with John Sexsmith.
Oh, no way.
Of course, and Kevin was trying to, do his interview and that, and John's going, can you just leave me alone? I'm coaching a team here,
Yeah, Sexy's dialed in.
And, but so we miss that, and if we can get that back, especially in the Journal, and I think it was a few years ago when I was down south and after Minor Hockey Week, and I was looking for coverage in the Journal, and there was nothing, even just a little article about.
I feel your pain.
There used to be scores of minor hockey in the paper, if I'm not mistaken, after you could see the night before. There used to be.
They used to run up to the Edmonton Journal at 1 a.m. with the scores of those days' game and drop them in a mailbox, and then they'd print them at night, and then they'd be in the Journal the next
So you
day.
could see what everyone else was doing. Still, it was a different
It's
time.
funny because how quickly it changed.
Yeah.
Because at Rexall Place, like basically there used to be a hallway that got you to the back door of the Oilers dressing room, and the first dressing room off to the right was the reporters, and they would run in there and just feverishly be hitting the keyboards because there was that press conference room 3AB was right there, and then the media was right behind it. Well, those days are done, right? And they had to hit their deadlines and stuff. So I really think that we lost a little bit of that sweet science, right? But
Hopefully one day it could all come back. Well, Darell, thank you for coming in today. Thanks for keeping this all going for 60 years, and all the best with the rest of the tournament. And can't wait for your 61 next year then.
Thank you very much, and it's great to be here, and I'm so glad you guys are doing this. The talk show, and really neat to see this kind of format, which is fantastic.
Appreciate that. And
Yeah.
Kevin,
Yeah,
thanks
this
for
is great.
stopping by.
Oh.
Thanks for not going to Uke today and making sure you came here. And
Hey, just so everyone knows, Yukon was trying to unplug some wires over here.
thank you for coming in.
No,
All
thanks
the
for
best
having
with
me,
the rest of the Oil Kings
Thank you
season.
so much.
And Oil Rumble this Sunday is
you bet.
Blades and Oil Kings 4 o'clock. Doors open at 3.
bet.
First bell going at 3:15.
Yeah,
so
first match starts at 3:15. You can head to oilkings.ca. Great seats start at $20.
Wow.
We'll have you on again at some point.
Let's
This is a
go.
lot of fun. Gager, you're up at noon.
Awesome.
Two guys in a goalie, you, Cassian, and Dusty's. You'll get everyone set for the Oilers looking for win number 12 in a row tonight. Did the Oilers do it?
Absolutely.
I think so.
She's a smooth dozen.
Yeah.
We'll get your take at
Gager.
noon.
I'll
We'll
say
take you. We'll
you'll
get
have
your
to
take
wait
at
and
noon.
hear my take.
Coming up next, it is the Lock Shop with Dusty and Huss. I'm Matt Iwanyk. Thanks for tuning in to the EST Hangout on this Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the Oilers game tonight. Lock Shop coming up in minutes.